one. And my PNG tour isn't professional. Hey guys, how's it going? We took a bit of a break, but we're back. First video of the new year. I'm a mess. Why is it the pony tuber? We're having a real good one, you guys. Anyway, I'm here with Arteice. First time on the channel, I think. But you may have
Mhm.
known her because we have spoken to each other a bit and interacted. So, but I think this is the first time we've been on stream together.
Yeah, outside of, like, Anthony's St. Jude stream.
Yeah, right. Yes, we did. We did do that together. I totally forgot. So what is it that you do? What kind of videos do you make? What kind of stuff do you like talking about? And tell us a little bit about yourself for people who don't know.
So for people who don't know, I'm ArteiceTB. I talk about, like, media analysis. I like to overthink, 2D fictional characters, um,
Yay.
and just stuff that come to mind in the midst of working on a big Has Been Hotel season 2 review right now.
Amazing. Um, I have a feeling that Has Been Hotel is probably going to come up in this discussion.
Oh,
It's
yes.
topical. There's a lot of
Mhm.
stuff going on. I know that you're a fan of it, but you also have like a lot of strong opinions about it. I'm not
Oh,
as
yeah.
much of a fan of it, and I also have opinions on it, but I haven't watched the new season, so I might like take my opinions about Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss with a grain of salt. As somebody who's not a fan, like Artiste is probably going to be able to speak more on it than I can. In any
Mhm.
case, today we're talking about representation. Um,
Mhm.
what it means, what it looks like, and kind of the ins and out of it. And we are kind of starting out on this with two different opinions. And the
Mm.
goal of this show, this is the second time I've done this show. I haven't actually done it in about a year, but I finally found something that I wanted to talk about in this way again. So, my opinion is that representation in and of itself um, isn't necessarily a positive or negative thing. Um, and it can even be enacted badly, and I think make things worse.
Mhm.
Would you care to share your opinion about the goods and the bads of representation, just so that we have a baseline to start with?
Oh, for sure. I think too, a good baseline to start is like our definition of representation.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I think of representation, I think of having more than just the one token,
Mm-hmm.
like minority character, the more than just one non-white male Christian
Mm-hmm.
cis male character in like the crowd.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think representation is important. I think it does matter and can if done wrong can be harmful, but when done right can be very impactful and even empowering and could cause a ripple effect of making people, if they feel seen by something, it encourages them to continue being making stuff to make others feel seen and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I guess that is kind of the whole point of storytelling, is to share a part of yourself with somebody. And the point of art in general is to like share an idea and communicate with somebody and
Hmm.
have it be understood, and then maybe that person, by experiencing your story or your art, also feels understood. And obviously representation matters in that capacity. Absolutely.
Yeah,
um
I think it can make people a bit more sympathetic to other people around them and just aware of what's going on in the world.
mhm.
Mhm.
So I feel like, because we were talking about it a little bit before we started. Oh, and before we get too much further, everybody, you're welcome to ask questions as we go. And we'll try to answer them as they come up if they're relevant. But we will be doing a more dedicated sort of Q&A towards the end of the stream. Um, that'll probably be in about an hour and a half at the most. But if we run out of things to talk about, we'll just go right to the Q&A. But I have a feeling we'll be discussing for quite a while. Um,
Oh, yeah.
but the yeah, the first thing I'd like to bring up is we were talking about this before the stream, is the thumbnail that I made, some of the characters on there. I think, like, I'll just pull it up again so that everybody can see. I think that might be a good kind of like gallery of characters, and some very topical. Are you? We'll get to it when we get to it.
Mhm.
Um, hold on. Let me just open. I'm having old person moments. Chat.
Hmm.
Did you know that this year is the last year where there will be any millennials under 30?
Oh, I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I haven't been under 30 in a while, but uh yeah, my generation officially not kids anymore by any stretch of the imagination. Uh Here we go. And let's turn on. Yes, there we go. And I think you have a copy of the thumbnail as well.
Mhm.
Um, do we want to start on your side? I'm gonna grab chat, and so the character on your side will go from right to left, if you're all right with that.
Yeah. The characters on my side are like Emily from Hazbin Hotel and Garnet from Steven Universe.
Mhm. Yeah. So you know a
Emily,
little bit
now,
more about Emily than I do. She wasn't in the first season of Husband Hotel very much.
now, yeah. She's a high seraphim. Her job is to bring joy to the citizens of heaven. But when she finds out that there's been exterminations and such, she is distraught. She's like, "Oh no, we are not having that. We have to make amends. This is not right. How are we supposed to be heavenly? And we're doing this. That's wrong." In all of season 2, she's just trying to convince Sarah, her oldest sister, another high seraphim, that we need to go down there and make things right. But things happen, and she gets a first taste of what hell is like actually like. Because that's what I like about Emily as a character, is because she's been in heaven her entire life. She is reasonably naive and just believes in the best of people, and I like
Mhm.
that for her, and it makes sense for her. But when going down to hell, she sees firsthand how some sinners can be very unpleasant and how they actually feel about the extermination, even though it was like just Vox twisting things. They are
Mhm.
still kind of scary from her perspective, but she still feels bad and still wishes to help, which I think is very like honorable of her.
Yeah, so she's definitely a positive character. Now, I
Hmm.
remember that there was a lot of controversy about her design when she was introduced. Um do you remember that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, it's from like the characters like audition sheets were leaked or was released, because between her, Sarah, and Velvet, they were supposed to be like how their voice descriptions were like certain age range or an idea of how they were supposed to sound, either women of color or black. I know for Sarah, she is voiced by a black woman. Emily's voice direction line just says black, but I know her voice actor isn't black. I don't know. I
Hmm.
still hold the belief that she could have been or still can be black coded, but it's just the design on first hand, because I'm
Hmm.
willing to give some grace when it comes to like the Hellaverse's design, because it's not like they can't do curvaceous bodies or different types of hair, because the
Hmm.
background artists definitely prove that it's very diverse. But it's with the main cast, mainly uh, like characters like Alistair and Emily, with this
Hmm.
feathery, stringy, like spiky hair that's kind
Yeah.
of a whiplash, because it just kind of seems like messy.
I mean, I don't want to get too much into Hazbin Hotel in and of itself, but like I've been following Vivzy Pop since she was in college. So, which, kind of annoys me when people say I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to the series or the artist behind it. I'm pretty
Mhm,
familiar with Viv and her work even before Hazbin Hotel came out. All of her
mhm.
characters look like that, and they always have ever since, from what I can tell and from what I've seen, ever since she was a teenager, and she hasn't really explored much outside of that. And on one hand, while I think it's great to like, hey, not all angels necessarily have pale skin and blonde hair. Um, but like, like, yeah, great, that's awesome. And I understand for this character in particular, she was trying to make like the feathery design make sense because she's an
Mhm.
angel. Um, it doesn't make sense for Alistair.
Oh my gosh, I wanna
That
ooh.
is that
I
is
wanna get into that one.
that's not a black man. What do you mean? What are you
You just say, as
talking
someone
about?
who's I've recently got into, like, some of Viv's background in artistry,
Mhm.
I have not I'm aware that she's been online since, like, middle school and some of these I know for a fact, just from what I've researched and heard, Alistair is, like, one of her oldest OCs had since, like, middle
Mhm.
school. I've only recently kept up with some of her work from, like, Hell of a Boss and such, but with Alistair, I'm looking back as far as the log dates back, he was like a shape-shifting deer cannibal, and over the years has just been more refined and doesn't look all too different than how he originally looked. He still has like the same hair shape, the same
Yeah.
like tuft of ears. He's just got more refined and cleaned up over the years. And I will stand 10 toes down you because there's been like of course during live streams of concept art of what Alistair would have looked like as a human. That was a white man. And the only reason I still believe to this day that the only reason that it's stated that oh no he's Creole or he's mixed that's just because she was using voodoo veves and botched veves which are like from a close practice that is constantly demonized because of like ignorance and not a lot of research on it because and it's just really ignorant to go forth and keep using the botched veves in the show moving forward and not and just all the criticism, all the goodwill criticism, mind you, falling on deaf ears. Because here's the thing, Alistair did not need to be Creole. He could have just been Cajun. If he
Yeah.
still wanted to be Southern Louisianan, he could have just been Cajun, like the Gambit.
Well, there's also I think that there's another aspect that I don't think a lot of people have really pointed out. Maybe they have, but I don't see people talking about it. His
Hmm.
design, his backstory, the cannibalistic deer, he's supposed to be a Wendigo. He's like like, and especially with the shape-shifting thing, he's like a weird amalgamation of a Wendigo and a skinwalker, which is also
Mm.
what the fuck? Like that's not
Oh, so pulling from Native American mythology and demonizing that. Okay.
yeah, all in a very, well, dare I say it, like Catholic Christian setting, taking all of these aspects from different cultures and then like, yeah, but actually the thing that's real is it's a little tone deaf. Um,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Um,
Which I think sucks because I like how human Alistair looks. Like, I like how he looks, like, as a human. And I'm, like, forgotten that, oh my gosh, they actually committed to him looking black and he actually looks good in this black design. So, what the actual hell happened between human to demon? Because you could just tell the demon form came way before, like, his
mhm,
actual
yeah.
human form. Because
Yeah.
what? Did he have to give up his black features for power?
Yeah, and like I know that, so I'm sure you know that the original setting for this, a lot of these characters was Zoophobia, and then it was very much reworked to take place in hell. Um,
Mhm.
they're just furries at the end of the day. Um, but it's always been really interesting to me, um, that whenever characters are turned into animals, do you ever notice that, like, white characters tend to retain features that make them look white even as animals, whereas, like,
Mhm.
characters of color completely lose any resemblance to, you know,
Yeah.
what they looked like beforehand? Like, I don't know, that's always been something that's kind of ticked me off a little bit. And I feel like for anthropomorphic characters, for furry characters, it's so easy to say, "Oh yeah, they have a human form that is black, but you never see it." So, uh,
Mm,
um,
that's just
yeah, that's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Um, but that's just me though.
like, for myself, that's why I kinda, I'm not a furry, I don't identify as furry, I just like drawing
Mhm.
anthropomorphic animals are just always easier to when you're first drawing, but I really like tigers. That's why later when I updated my tiger avatar, I wanted to show my hair and features because a lot of people just assume that a lot of
Mhm.
furries are white.
Yeah. And I see, I like to joke about this sometimes. I tried to be a furry and failed. I never like felt that connection with an animal. That's why my little guy is a demon. Like I tried with multiple different animal species. I took so many tests. I've made a lot of cool designs that I like. It's just nothing ever felt like a personal connection to me. I also tend to like humanoid faces more. Um,
Mhm.
so like like I never felt connected to the whole furry thing, but I do like this character designs. Uh and I do think it's important to try and not assume that I'm making an anthropomorphic character and I'm going to give it white features as the default. Like whiteness as the default strikes again, to be honest.
Mhm. And unfortunately, it
Oh.
shows up too with a lot of like young black artists too, because all they see is just straight hair and European features that's gonna leak into their own art when making their own like personas. And unfortunately, it does show up too in the VTuber community or even other like non like people who don't really show their face online regularly. They have
Mhm.
like characters and avatars where they're either racially or ethnically you know what I'm trying to say, ethnicity like ambiguous to just
Oh, what?
avoid any like
I'm being
backlash.
roasted. I'm being
We're being
roasted
roasted.
for having flat affect. Oh boy. Apparently I'm really angry. Um, I'm not an ex furry. It's just not anything that ever appealed to me. I like the characters, but no, not an ex
Hmm.
furry. And I'm not sure what fandom I'm supposed to be hating right now. Artiste is in the Has Been Hotel fandom. My best friend Mothra is a huge fan of Has Been Hotel. I have plenty of friends that like Has Been Hotel, and we discuss it in good faith all the time. So I'm not sure where that's coming from. Methinks that somebody's just angry that you and I are talking, but
Uh,
that's just my opinion. In any case, we're
hmm.
gonna go. But yes, in terms of okay, so in terms of Emily, if you were to say yes or no, do you think Emily is good representation or bad representation of like I guess she's supposed to be black?
In terms of her as a character, as a person, I love her. I think she's really
Mhm.
great, but she's also very racially ambiguous. I don't know if that was intentional
Mhm.
or not. That you could probably just project any kind of race onto her, and like if you yourself feel attached to her, that's fine too. But like, black is not the first thing people would think of when they see Emily. Like when I tweeted out a few years ago that like Vaggie was supposed to be Latina, I got a lot of people realizing like, wait, she's supposed to be Latina? She's supposed to be Latina? Like, yeah, guys, she speaks Spanish. Doesn't that mean she's Latina?
I mean, to go on a bit of a tangent, um, semi-related but related, a
Mhm.
series that fell into this trap a lot, but I think in recent years has done a lot better, Pokemon. All of the characters were supposed
Mm.
to be racially ambiguous. There wasn't supposed to be race in Pokemon. You had like Brock, Ash, and Misty, who all lived in the same region and who look um, very different. Like, I'm one of those people that it's like, oh wow, a character from a Japanese show going to a Japanese school that speaks Japanese. That like that's not white. But like let's you know let's set that aside for now. Like
Mhm.
I think like Brock very much looks like a black guy. Ash looks like an Asian guy, and Misty looks like a white girl. And I think that to a certain extent, having settings where race is been kind of Pokemon isn't our world. Like it's an entirely different world with different rules, a different history. Like it's a fantasy world. And I think
Right.
like in that sense, I think that's okay. Um but have you played any of the new I'm so bad about playing recent Pokemon games like I'm playing ZA now, but before that the last mainline Pokemon game that I actually played was Gen 4, so like Heart Gold, Soul Silver and like Diamond and Pearl. Uh
Nice.
so representation wasn't great that back then, but um uh I'm gonna bring him on the
I'm like
screen. I should also
fully
stream. I should stream my screen to you as well. I'll just do the OBS so that you can see you can see what people are seeing. So this guy,
I
Naveen,
see. Uh-huh.
is one of my new favorite
Oh my
characters.
god, I love Naveen. He is so funny. He is great black representation in Legends EA. I'm
I
like
love
just
his hair.
getting up to the story. I love his hair. I love that he's a fashion designer. I love that he has this story of like my grandma doesn't accept me, but I want to be with friends and people who does. And it's just the deadpan straight. It's just a
Yeah.
straight the straight man in the group in a way, but is also a mega fan of this like streamer girl. He's so fun.
Yes. Exactly. And like they've they've been more overt and like, hey, you know what, we are biased and we are going to try to get better and we are going to make more overt representation, besides just Brock, ambiguous dark-skinned guy with like
I always
hair
thought
that
Brock
could
was
be.
supposed to be like a tan or like melanated Asian man because a
I
lot of
mean,
people because that was like the controversy. That's why they got rid of him in season one, in the early seasons, because they thought it was a racist stereotype to have him in the show because his eyes were always closed.
which is crazy because Pokemon is Japanese. And he was
I
always in
know,
the
right?
games. He was always in the games. Like they never took him out of the games. Anyway, um
Hmm.
and I get maybe you could make some questions about him being a total horn dog. Being this like, isn't it kind of weird that the one horn dog of the group has dark skin? Like, is that a little odd? Um, but yeah, they've made efforts to get better, and I appreciate that. Um,
I'm gonna need them to make better efforts when it comes to the character design because it's bull that I only get a flat top, fade, and braids, and I can't even do much with the braids.
in what? In the like the
In
main
Legends EA
character?
for like the yeah, as the
Mm,
main character, as you can customize your character, the
yeah.
hair options for like black hair and afro textures freaking suck.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, I feel like the hair selection is lacking in general, especially because like we see so many like characters around the world and moving around the world that have
Mhm.
so much interesting hair. Let me do that. I want that shit. So I think that the hair selection is kind of meh for everyone, but I could see how it would affect people with uh textured hair more that tends to be the case most of the time. It's like, hey, you know what? I can't customize this character very as much as I want to. You think you're having a problem. Ask a
You
black person how
I
they
only
feel
get
about the character customization.
well, look at oh, I can't decide between like this asymmetrical cut or this bob cut or this long wavy cut. Cool. I only have two options.
Yeah. Um, but they are getting better. Um, and
Yeah.
I do appreciate the efforts because like um yeah. In any case,
Mhm.
back to the we kind of went off on a tangent there. Where's my there it is. So,
Love it.
um moving along, Garnet. Um how do you feel about Garnet? And this is something that I can weigh in on as well. I am a big Steven Universe fan.
Garnet is glorious. She had to become a leader. I know she's a fusion. Um
Mhm.
I feel like her as a person, she's a very strong, stable individual, but at times, even she realizes that she gets scared and nervous. And as speaking from like a place as a black woman, it does kind of feel like sometimes I have to put on a brave face, but deep down, I'm just tired. I can't always be the strong one, and I felt
Mhm.
that in like pool hopping, where Garnet was just having a rough time with her future vision and just trying to prevent everything at once. But I like how Steven helped her like chill out with that. So I think Garnet is really good. I love her hair. I love that she's actually voiced by see this is the key thing too. Having an actual black voice actor too.
Mhm. Something something somebody brought to my attention once, and obviously if I'm overstepping, let me know, but I am just parroting things that I heard is that a lot of people will say like, "Hey, think of a black singer right now, like a female black singer. Hey, are they somebody that's perceived as aggressive or angry or like has that whole like queen bee diva thing going on? Why are those the only black artists that you can think of?" And I think for that reason, that's why I appreciate Estelle in particular, because I think that
Hmm.
just having hey, yeah, we've got a black main character in our cast and she's voiced by a black actress. If it's the same kind of black person every single time, I personally don't think that's good enough. So I like that they went with Estelle. I'm sure she
Hmm.
wasn't cheap too. Because
Oh
she's
no,
like,
hell no.
yeah, and they paid her. I know that she really loves the show and she really likes being Garnet. So I'm sure, I'm sure she worked with what they could give her. But um, I don't know. It's not every day you see somebody go to make a. Well, I also know that Garnet was designed specifically for Estelle, so like she was like from the get go before they even had her on. It's like we want Estelle. This character is just
And see that
Estelle Gemsona, but also like I appreciate that it wasn't like, hey, we want you ever see those videos? It's like, hey, can we get you to say it a little more Italian or
like
black or
this
Asian?
person,
Yeah. So
yeah.
she's not the typical voice I think that would you'd associate with a stereotype, which I also enjoy.
Yeah, I appreciate that going above and beyond that like they had in mind that Garnet from the get-go is black. And I just really appreciate that extra effort.
Hmm. Yeah. Also, like the gay stuff as well. I think notable. I like that because Rebecca was pretty sneaky about Garnet.
Hmm.
For those of you that don't know, um, she didn't tell Cartoon Network that Garnet was a fusion um until the show was already quite popular, and then the episode where it's like, oh yeah, she's two little lesbians in a trench coat and there's nothing that you can do to change it because that's who she is, that's who she always has been. Look at all these things in the background that have been pointing to it. You can't take it back now. The show's really popular. So kind of basically beat Cartoon Network at their own game, and really one of, I think she might be the first like example of a gay character. And again, they had to do it in a sneaky way. But there's a reason they
Mhm.
had to do it that way. Um, so that's something I really appreciate. Like Garnet, I think, um, of all of the characters that I placed on this, and some of them are good examples, some of them are bad examples, I think is probably the most groundbreaking character, and the most important character, because she paved the way for so much to come behind her.
Yeah, and there's, like, little seeds that came along too. It's
Hmm.
not I like how, like, Steven Universe really ripped open that door because I remember the earliest of, like, at least LGBTQ that I could recall on Cartoon Network was, like, Bunny and the cat girl from from Courage Cowardly Dog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that was really sweet.
that one, but also like that one, I've always felt like it was played. It was like a twist. Oh, it's a twist that they're gay, and it's kind of weird because Courage the Cowardly Dog has a weird feeling, and like the culture of cartoons at the time was a lot more experimental than I feel like it is now, especially for network
Mhm.
television. So I feel like you could, I mean, like Invader Zim would not that would not go
No.
to network
Nope.
these days, I think. Maybe I mean it did get a movie a couple years ago, so it did stream, but I don't think it would go to network these days. But then of course there's Marceline and Princess Bubblegum, who relationship was
Yeah.
kind of put in the background for a long time. Um, and then Cora and Asami, which we only got at the very end a little bit. But Garnet was like, bam, in your face. One of the main characters has been gay the whole time. You can't take her out of Steven Universe. She's an irremovable part of it. And
And a very beloved character.
yeah, yes, exactly. I don't think that I
Remember,
have much to
kids,
s-
don't be racist.
yes. That's the kind of shit that I, it was kind of funny, but like the after school special kind of anti-racism message, it's like it's kind of like the dare program. It's like you're just teaching kids how to be racist. Like these kids didn't know anything about drugs or anything about racism until when you came in and you're like, hey guys, don't say the n-word, and it's like, oh fucking Christ, what are you doing? um
I think it's funny how, like, the problem is, like, black people can't marry white people and not "You're 2 boys, you can't get married." They could have done both, honestly.
yeah, yeah, they tend to overlap a little bit. um
Mhm.
I don't think I have anything to say to complain about Garnet whatsoever. I think so. My side of things is kind of weak when it comes to Garnet. So um
My thing is, like, Garnet racial coding, because I've had so many freaking arguments before on this, like Darwin the fish from, like, Darwin from The Amazing World of Gumball, Wonderful World of Gumball, whatever. To this day, people will still try to argue up and down that he's not black, he's not black, he's a
we've
fish,
seen his
he's
human
orange.
Sona. We've
He's
seen what he
only
looks.
voiced He's only voiced by black kids. He's when Cartoon Network did their different art styles, he's been portrayed as, yeah, a fish in some styles when there's only animals, but a black kid when they're humans. He was featured in the Kwanzaa display with Garnet and, like, a lot of other black people too. So it's like, this is just denial.
Yeah. Um Yeah, because again, then we're going back to like why, because a lot of times when we see aliens and like characters like elves, is like why, like, okay, technically yes, I guess Garnet cannot trace her heritage back to the continent of Africa, I guess.
Right.
um But why whenever we see aliens, they often have white features, and that goes back again to the whole why are all furries given white features? Why are like you know.
Right.
So yeah.
Just the
So like
assumed
why not
default.
make an alien that exactly? Oh, thank you for the super chat, Anthony. Question: how does Piccolo work as a representation? We're
Let
gonna
me
get into
tell you
that.
something.
Ooh,
Let me
Artiste, can
tell
we
you something.
like set that aside for now because I do want to talk about characters like Piccolo and like that's like a whole thing that I want to get into with you.
Yeah,
So
that's a
hold that thought. Hold it. I will bring up Piccolo again. Don't you worry.
I love Piccolo.
Little taster.
I'm sorry. Real quick question. How much do I need to watch my language?
Um, I would say you don't. I sometimes in my server I'm like, hey, maybe like watch it like in terms of like saying the N word on the server because I don't want like some white kid to think, oh, this is a place where I can say this word and they can't tell who's white and who's black. So they're assuming
Ah,
that this
yep.
is a server where white people can say it and then they say it and then one of my friends who is black ends up getting hurt. So when we're in text spaces, I kind of be like, hey, maybe don't. But everybody here knows you're black, like so I think
I'm
yeah, absolutely
black.
go ahead. But
Yep.
if the fucking comment section like fucking behave, please. Like behave yourselves. I don't wanna have to start booting people, but yes, I'm not gonna police your language. Um
Appreciate
But
it.
yes, let's shelf Piccolo for now because I do want to get into stuff like that. Um, the next set of characters. Did you watch Stranger Things? You're more of a cartoon person. I get the sense.
Hell no. I watched
Yeah.
different kind of live action stuff too, but like
Hmm.
Stranger Things, it was always something I knew was going on in the background.
Yeah.
Never watched a lick of it.
Unfortunately, it was kind of made for me in a lab because I'm like a big Stephen King fan, and like I like horror, and I like that kind of thing. And I am of the age that of course this appealed to me. Like one of my favorite movies growing up with E.T. So like a lot
Mhm.
of Spielberg, a lot of Stephen King, like it was unfortunately made for me in a lab and I've watched every season quite religiously ever since it came out.
Mhm.
Um
That makes sense.
Byler was never gonna fucking happen, guys. It was never gonna happen, and I didn't want it to happen. Um
Mhm.
Fuck them Wheeler kids. They all suck. I hate the Wheeler family. Um, I finished watching the new season because they released like the second drop of it a few days ago. So I finished watching the new season last night in preparation for this. Um, it's been very clear. I think since season 2 or 3 that Will is gay and he struggles with that.
Oh.
Um, so one of the big conference. So it's just so you know, Artis. I'll play the explainer now. Uh,
Mhm.
so the other boys are starting to get interested in girls. Mike has 11, Lucas has Max. They're always talking about girls and like worrying about girls, and Will is getting very frustrated. And he's like, "Can we just
Mhm.
play D&D, please? I don't care about girls." And towards the end of the season, Mike has this blow up at him and he's like, it's not my fault you don't like girls. And it absolutely destroys this kid. Um, and
Oh.
it is a heartbreaking scene. Like he runs off in the rain. He rips apart his little clubhouse. It's like clear that this kid is going through some internalized homophobia. And I for one like had a lot of empathy for the kid and I felt a lot of that was relatable. Like, why are we like I just want to go back to doing regular friend things. Why are we so focused on like god damn it, can't we just do what we've always done? Like you don't want things to change because like I think growing
Mhm.
up queer seeing everybody else grow up around you and like fall into normalcy, you're confronted with the fact that you're not normal and that you're different from them. And growing up with them means having to confront that. And I think that's why a lot of us kind of put off growing up, so to speak, because
Mhm.
we don't want to confront the things that make us different, especially at a time like 1980s America. Like that was the peak of the AIDS crisis. AIDS is never brought up in Stranger Things. But anyway, um, then there's an then Will has some more struggles with that, especially in the next season, um, where he has moved to a new city and Mike is coming to visit for the first time, but he's coming to visit 11, who is his girlfriend, and
Mhm.
11 was adopted by Will's mother. And
Uh-huh.
Will has painted this beautiful picture for Mike, and before he gives it to him, he realizes like I can't fucking give this. Like it's not gonna like this is a gesture that is gonna come off across in a certain way, and it's not appropriate. This guy's dating my sister, but he's also like giving him this pep talk, saying how much 11 loves him and appreciates him and thinks about him all the time. And it's having a fucking breakdown, and it's like it's really heartbreaking. A lot of the moments that we see with Will and his sexuality are negative in most of the series. Is him
Mhm.
having hard times with it, and I'm not a big fan of that necessarily. It was very relatable, but like, can we have some positive things happen? Um, and we did end up getting that in the latest season. So there's another gay character in the main cast starting in season 3 named Robin, who wasn't originally written to be gay. She was written to be a love interest of Steve Harrington, which is another character. Like they're the older group, and like then there's the younger group, which like Will, Mike, and all of them are a part of. But Robin's a bit older. He's the same age as the older siblings, and she
Mhm.
was originally intended to be Steve's love interest, and then Maya Hawke was like, "She's gay." Maya Hawke is straight, by the way, but she's like that. This makes more sense for the character, and it just sort of organically happened that Robin became gay. It made the writing better, made the season tie up stronger. Steve, I think it was better for his character too, because it was not like his arc isn't constantly falling in love with a new girl, and like so it made sense just for the show and just for the character. And in
Mhm.
season 5, Robin and Will have a little sit down and they
Mhm.
talk because Robin clocks Will and said something that I think was really profound, and I think like a lot of younger gay people need to hear. I think if you're gay, if you're in the audience, you might have had a moment where maybe you fell in love with your best friend or somebody at school, and you get nostalgic and you wonder what could have been, and like, oh, things were so much more simple back then. I wish that they felt the same way that I did. And um
Mm.
and something that Robin says, because she, of course, she had this kind of person just like Will did, and just like a lot of younger gay people had, where she's like, those moments when you feel good thinking about how simple it was back then, it was never about them. It was about you and you loving being yourself. And I was like, that is probably the best thing that I've heard a gay person say in media in a really long time. Um,
I like
because
that.
yeah, because I think that like by virtue of being gay and like talking about representation for gay people often gets reduced to the romantic relationships we get in and the sexual
Mhm.
relationships we have. And to an extent that makes sense because like, it is about romantic and
But,
sexual
like, you
orientation.
don't need
But
to have a relationship to, like, validate your gayness.
exactly. And we exist outside of that as well, I think was very
Right.
important. Um and uh and I think the people that are like, Byler wasn't canon, we've been queer baited. it didn't need to be canon. Like I like Will's final arc in the series was about self-acceptance. I think his coming out scene was fucking weird because he gathered everybody around like in a group, like he was announcing he's about to run for office. And it's like I feel like you should have done like a soft run with Robin, like done your little speech with her, maybe told like your mom and maybe told like a friend or two that you trusted before you said it to me. I don't know any gay person that has come out like that. I certainly didn't. You come out in steps. He didn't even say out loud to Robin as like I'm gay or I like Will or this is the it was all sort of like implied, and she's like, yeah, I clocked you and I know that you
Mhm.
need to hear this, so I'm saying this to you, but he never said it out loud. And I think, and I heard
Mhm.
that Noah Schnapp, who is the actor who plays Will, he's also gay, as it turns out, and he
Huh.
didn't like that scene either. So I feel like there's good and there's bad in Stranger Things. On one hand, it seems like the things that organically came about, like Robin being a lesbian and Will being gay, because I believe that was fairly organic. Good. But then the Duffer brothers aren't very good at, I guess, planning things out. They were really pushy about having that big coming out scene, and nobody else thought it was a good idea. And so it feels like it kind of did something great and then stumbled over at the last hurdle. So that kind of bothers me. Um,
Would have really greatly benefited if they, like, listened to, have a gay writer in the room, listen to your gay actors, like, clean it up a bit.
Yeah, I think there was gay writers on staff. I just think the Duffer Brothers, or the Duffus Brothers, I think it's Duffer. I think that they just had this idea in mind, and we're getting we're gonna talk about another character here in a second that you can see to
Mhm.
the left of these two characters. And then I think it's gonna lead us into um another discussion. But I think at that point, Will was tokenized, you know,
Mhm.
as in like, hey, it's the final battle and we do need a big speech. Let's use Will's sexuality as the big speech instead of that being a private personal moment that actually represents how gay people come out and what they experience in that time of their lives. But anyway,
Right. Mhm.
so which
Oh, where there's a
is
will, there's a gay.
yeah. In any case, I think in my opinion it's a mixed bag when it comes to Stranger Things and Will and Robin in general. But Byler was never going to be canon. Fucking get over it.
Think people just queer baited themselves. It happens a lot.
Yeah, like this is just freaking BBC Sherlock all over again. Um, so are you familiar with the movie Music by Sia?
Oh,
Um,
as an
that's
autismo babismo, I didn't watch it, but I heard how it was a train wreck.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either. I don't want to watch it. I don't need to lick dog shit to know that it tastes bad. Um,
Mhm. He said
Now I'm
that,
not
"Oh, I
sure.
did my research, and I worked with an organization." I'm like, "Okay, cool. What organization?" Autism Speaks.
And then she came out as autistic to kind of cover her tracks, which like cool. Like there's still such
No,
thing as
still a
it could be
piece
a
of
turn
shit for
life. It's
that.
still not to mention like that the main character isn't black, but she does there's like a lot of hair sculpting and like a clear like people I've heard people call it like blackface. Um
Ah.
I don't know if you've heard that part of the controversy.
I just I knew I knew in my bones that the main character was not black, and I also knew she wasn't actually autistic, but she was just so racially ambiguous, and I feel like that's what they were going for. Because, like, research
Uh,
has shown that, like, girls on the spectrum or, like, femme presenting folks on the spectrum do not get diagnosed as much, especially, like, women of color.
anyway, so here's the hair
Uh,
sculpting. And she's also making like a face that is clearly supposed to evoke autism, and I
In the hands.
yeah. I mean, like, look, I make some weird funny faces, but like
Same, yeah. But
unintentionally, but it's more of a resting bitch face than anything for me. Um, but this
this is
is
a this is offensive to all the senses. Who
yeah, who said this was okay? Who gave her permission to do this?
was this for? Clearly not for someone like me.
I think I don't think this was for anybody. I think this was for Sia to feel like she was doing something good for somebody. And this is, I think, peak tokenization.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Because I remember, like, either in the trailer or a clip I saw when she was like having a tantrum or a meltdown, one of the guardians was like, "All right, it's your turn to hold her down." I'm like, "No, that's the one thing you're supposed to not do."
I mean, look, as somebody in childcare who has had to hold on to autistic people when they are throwing a tantrum, it's not to calm them down. I've had to do it so that they don't hit some other kid and
Mhm.
get themselves in trouble and get that kid hurt. And you don't just like compress them. 9 times out of 10, if I can, I will just stand in between two kids, then hold. I don't like holding and and I've never done that sort of like constricting technique. It's always been like, hey, my arms in front of you, blocking you off, and that's the most. And I've like had to pick up a kid from running out into the street before, or from like
Oh.
touching something dangerous. But like if you see somebody having a tantrum, autistic or not, the like you don't just hold them for the sake of holding them. You know, there are safety concerns, yes, but unless that autistic kid is actually in danger of hurting themselves or somebody else, fucking let them go. They
Mhm.
don't just hold her down, they football tackle her. See, I know this movie would make me
Jesus
angry
Christ.
because I have been trained in proper ways to um a like take somebody down because I used to be a security guard before I got into childcare. To
Mhm.
take somebody down if I have to. I've never had to do that, thank goodness. But also how to properly keep a kid from hurting themselves or others. And so whenever I see stuff like, oh, just grab them and hold, no, the best thing that you can do for an autistic kid is get them into a space by themselves so that they can self-regulate and calm down. That's your goal. You don't just fucking squeeze them.
Mhm.
Good lord. Oh, another one.
Eep.
Speaking as an autistic person, the only female I felt validated about my autism is from Lunella from Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. The moment I heard she's on that spectrum, I felt so seen. Yeah,
Aw.
autism I think autism's gonna come up as well in a bit when we talk about Piccolo and a specific kind of quote unquote representation more, but and you sent me an article today actually, so I
Mhm.
think it'd be a great time to pop that open. Um
Oh yeah.
visit sites. Freaking bird site. How dare you? So Mattel has released their first autistic Barbie doll that features a fidget spinner, a tablet for communication, noise canceling headphones, and bendable elbows and wrists for stimming. Um,
It's like their first autistic doll. Remember when they first released like their Down syndrome doll and there was like some backlash from that community from it?
mhm.
I'm just gonna say for this doll, and I know like Monster High also released like an autistic doll, and some would say that that doll is better. I'd say, autism, yes, it is a spectrum. Let's have a variety of things because it doesn't have just one look. I think as like their first doll, first is not always going to be perfect. It's a good start. They can also like grow from. I hope to see more different types of autistic dolls.
Yeah. Um, the topic of dolls and representation. is an interesting one, I think. Um, I don't know if we want to crack that open too much today. I think
All I'll say for now, yeah. Oh, sorry.
no, you go ahead. You go ahead first. You go ahead first.
All I'm gonna say as far as like dolls, for myself, my grandmother always made sure that we had black dolls and such. Either it was a black Barbie or the Bratz line. I always
Mhm.
played with those because she wanted to make sure that we saw ourselves. I did feel seen. I really had a lot. I had a lot of brats growing up, and it was fun. It was cool seeing a variety of dolls that kind of looked like me.
So, before I get into the other thing, for those of you that don't know, I'm trans. So, um, I was assigned female at birth, and I was raised as a girl, and did come out until I was. Well, I did like a sort of like, "Hey, mom, I think I might not. I think I might be a boy." When I was 14, and she's like, "Uh huh," and then we never talked about it again. Until I was like 18, 19. And I was like, "Hey, mom, I no, really, actually, I am a boy." And then I started transitioning at that point. So as an adult, however,
Mhm.
I was very tomboyish growing up. Um, there were early signs, one could say, and there's a lot of complications there with my mom being gay. We lived in rural Nova Scotia, and there's this expectation of like you're gonna ruin your kids, and um, if you want to talk negative representation, there was a character in the sitcom Friends. So this was Ross's ex-wife. In
Mhm.
the episode that she's introduced, the big B plot is that Ross's and her son wants to play with Barbie dolls, right?
Mhm.
And his ex-wife is a lesbian. So Ross is like, you're confusing my son because of your lesbianism. Like there's that narrative and that implication. And it's this big tension that's played for laughs. And I think that my mom was afraid something like that would happen. I think everybody was afraid something like that would happen to me. Um, that my mom would make me gay or something, or would make me gender confused. And I don't know, man. I guess you guys were right because it turned out to be trans. But hey, I have a straight sibling, so Allistics cannot comprehend the sound of light bulbs. No, they cannot. Thank you for this. Actually, I can't either. I'm actually hard of hearing, so have I have a hard time hearing a lot of things, especially on the higher pitch side. But if there is a noise that I hear, it will be physically painful to me if it doesn't stop making noise. So, but anyway, yes, Friends does suck, but in terms of negative representation, this was something that's like, oh, it's a sitcom with like a gay character, but like her lesbianism is always played as a joke. It's never positive. Um,
Mhm.
which is funny because the thing that emboldened my mom to come out was actually another sitcom called Ellen. Ellen, the actress, and Ellen, the character, came out at the same time, and a lot of gay people, especially a lot of lesbians, felt emboldened in the '90s to come out themselves. Um, but then, then a couple years later, Friends pulled this shit, and I think it kind of made. I don't know if that's a specific reason, but I know that it was like the whole homo. You don't hear this term very often, but the whole homoparental thing was very controversial back in the '90s. And homoparental, for those of you that don't know, is when two people of the same sex raise kids together. And
Mm.
there was a lot of studies on if that would negatively impact people, if that would like if people that had were raised in a homoparental environment were more likely to be gay or trans or have like these struggles later in life or like you know so that was something that I was even tested on when I got my top surgery. That was like a questionnaire, was like, hey, did you grow up with like um a mom and a dad, or were you raised in a homoparental environment? And I was like, wow. And that was, how old am I now? I'm 33 and that happened when I was 25. So um that was only 8 years ago. They were still talking like that and looking in to see the impacts of those kind of uh, parenthoods. Anyway, long story
Yeah,
short,
on that.
I was bought a lot of I got a lot of Barbies as a kid. And my favorite Barbie also just so happened to be black. Especially when I was younger, I had darker skin and I had like really curly black hair, and there weren't any Barbies like that really that weren't black. So I ended up getting that's the Barbie that I ended up getting and attaching myself to, but I don't think I really played with them right. I made
Mhm.
little kingdoms. I played with them and like I mixed them up with my action figures and Legos, so I probably wasn't playing with them the way that most people were playing with them, but whatever. Um uh
On
anyway,
that,
yeah,
can I add something to that?
absolutely.
You were talking about like the studies of homosexual parents versus heterosexual parents. Funnily enough, in high school when I did like AP English, it was like an
Yeah.
advanced English college level course.
Yeah.
Um, I had to do a research paper where I had to have an argument paper, essentially. And my topic that I chose, because at the time, young, autistic, very not aware of the world, that's how I started
Mhm.
learning about like more things and such. My not physics, but like science teacher. He's a gay man,
Oh
and
boy.
we would see no, but he was really cool. He was legit the awesomest person at that school,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
lot of people loved him too. And there was times where we had school events or dances, and he would bring like his, I think his partner at the time, let's just say, and they were both really cool and chill. And I learned a lot about like LGBTQ struggles and such about that from him. And I wanted my research paper to be on like hetero versus homo like issues too. So one of the topics I wanted was like, does it act because of my curiosity of like, does being raised by a same sex couple actually affect the child versus a hetero couple? And through my research, and because I was being heavily biased, but I was being heavily biased for the homosexual parents because, well, yeah, I think it just makes logical sense because uh same-sex couples, they go through a lot more struggle to either adopt or get a surrogate. So when
Mhm.
they say they want a child and they want to raise a child, they go through the hoops versus where it's like hetero parents, it can happen by accident and it could
Mhm.
be like, well, I guess we're together, or like it could be a split parenthood. That's why I was like biased. But
Yeah.
my teacher wanted me to make sure I had a level argument. So she recommended I read this book about a young man who was adopted and raised by two women. It was
Mhm.
literally like a book called like My Two Moms, and he ended up
Mhm.
like your stereotypical straight guy. He ended up marrying a woman, and funnily enough, he got a lot of great advice from his moms about like women too. So it helped him in the end, and he wrote a book about his whole life experience and what it was like being raised by two women.
Yeah.
But he still
I
ended
mean,
up straight in the end.
my siblings, I have two siblings. I have one that is like 100% my blood relative, like, same mom, same dad. And then my other mom, my non-biological mom's biological kid. So they both were in previous relationships. They were good friends. They realized they were gay for each other, and then like they gave it like a year or so before they moved in, just so that you know it wouldn't be too hard on us kids. But um, my sister has been my sister since I was 6, and even before then, I knew her. And I'm talking about my non-biological one, my stepsister, I suppose you could say. Um,
Hmm.
and she's straight. She's in a married relationship. She doesn't live. She's moving. I think she's moving back to Nova Scotia in this year, but she moved out west for a little while because it's a lot easier to make money out there. And then my other sister is open-minded and has like some gender things going on and is bisexual but has mostly only dated guys. And I know that doesn't mean anything, but like if you look at all three of us, it's clear that like that aspect of our lives, and like I was impacted by, oddly enough, my father's like an evangelical Christian, so that those two sides kind of. But I always felt like my moms were on my side and in my corner, and that I was aware that there were options and that you could be many different kinds of people. And I like fully like I'm trans. I came out I like did like physical transition. My sister, who like for all intents and purposes, like I don't know exactly what she identified as. She's just very open minded, and she's like, I don't know, and that she doesn't need to know. She's pretty
Mhm.
happy with the way that she is, because she was modeled very different kinds of relationships early on in her life. So what if all of the relationships she's been in have been guys for the most part? Um, and then I've got my heterosexual sibling. So clearly you get lots of different results from that. And I think it's positive. We didn't have like the adoption thing, like this like my they came from previous like we came from previous relationships, but there are other positives as well to consider other than just like that sort of standard you have to meet before you adopt as a gay couple, because some people don't get together until after they have kids, and that seemed to be the case for a lot of the gay parents that I knew, um up until very recently. I think I only know one gay parent who adopted, personally in my day-to-day life. But
Mhm.
anyway.
But yeah, at the end of my like research paper, I've concluded like it doesn't matter if a child is raised by a hetero couple or a homosexual couple. What matters is their relationship to the parents at the end of
Mhm.
the day.
Yep, that's true,
That
that's
is
true.
ultimately what should matter.
Yep. Um, in any case, though, circling back to the doll thing a little bit,
Mhm.
I think that, and this is gonna seem a little bit controversial. On one hand, I think it's great that kids have toys, that look like them and that they can see themselves in. But on the other hand, I think that there's like a whole other discussion to be had about how we often thrust femininity on young girls or people that we assign to be girls at a very young age, that it's kind of disturbing to me. Like, why are we teaching like 2-year-olds how to be moms? That's always like, why baby dolls? Why are you giving
You mean
that? Just makes me a little uncomfortable, I guess.
Are you are
Um,
you telling me that when I grew up with the Easy Bake Oven and the Baby Alive dolls, including the one where you can feed and wipe their own shit, was I being low key conditioned to be a mom? Because that's the last thing I want to be, high key.
I mean, like, I think so. I think that like it's not a black and white issue. I think that on one hand,
Hmm.
kids like mimicking their parents, but like
Oh yeah,
we don't really see that. We don't really like we were seeing people be more open to it, but that's not something that we would automatically do for young boys. Young boys are allowed to like trucks and dinosaurs and space and bugs
and
and
tires.
and all of these
I
things. And
was
it's like, what do I give to a little girl? I know, a baby doll. Like,
give her a Pokemon, and then you let her make up imaginations of Pokemon mystery dungeons, because that's what I was doing as a kid. I had a lot of Pokemon stuffies.
my first like the comfort stuffed animal that I had was a hand puppet that was like this weird little dinosaur dragon thing. Um
Aw,
so I feel like that's that's kind of started me out on a path. And then my other favorite one was like a Pikachu. Um those are my
I
two favorites.
I had a lot of Care Bears and bears. I was just really into bears as a kid, and then I got
Mhm.
a lot of Pokemon plushes. I just like plushes.
Yeah, I tended to like the animals and like the mystical creatures over like dolls and stuff because, and again, we're gonna get into this I think in a bit when we talk about Piccolo and other forms of representation. Um,
Creature cool, human boring.
Create well, yeah, and a lot of time you can project whatever the fuck you want to onto a creature. Like
Yup.
that, like my little dinosaur guy was like a boy,
Mhm.
and had like a specific way of talking, and like I named him and had nothing. There was no gender markers on it. Like it was like this green, cute little. I wonder if I can find it. Um, sword.
It was just a little dino. Gender was
He's just
not, like, a priority at the time.
I'm not seeing it, but it's like this kind of design with like the beady little eyes.
Oh, that's cute.
I mean, like I physically have it. Um.
When you were
Oh,
saying
here it
My
is.
Little, I thought you were gonna say My
It's
Little
right
Pony.
here. Oh yeah, no, no, no. This is it, but no, no, it's not. It's this one's got spines, but it's like that soft material.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess this is probably a close resemblance to it. Didn't have like all the extra sparkly bits. But that was like the general design. Um,
That does
and I,
remind me, I did fuck heavy with Dragon Tail as a kid.
me too. Dragon Tail fucked, and
Mhm.
in terms of like they were not white. Like
There was one that
they were
literally
Latino.
spoke Spanish, and one
Yeah,
was in
like
a
they're
wheelchair.
well, like the main characters were I think they were Latino or Mexican.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they ever came right on said. And then like the main dragon guy, like the teacher of their school was named Quetzal and had like an accent and like spoke in Spanish, and like I thought that was an interesting I thought that was an interesting way to go about it, but like a lot of PBS shows were like that, where their representation was so that the kids that were watching would relate to it more because they were specifically serving. They're specifically made for like underserved kids in um, inner city environments. So like I feel like the casting was always made very deliberately. But anyway, um,
Mhm.
where did we go? There it is. So we went a little bit up and down. The last character that I wanted to bring up was Rain from the Owl House. Do you have any like hard or soft opinions on Rain?
Um, well, I can't really say for sure because, like, I as a cis person, but, as a character and as a character who uses they them, the characters in the show recognize they them and always consistently say they them. And there is also another non-binary character in the Owl House, so Rain's not just a token. I like how
Yeah.
Rain is a pivotal is an important character to the main characters. It is doing something for the revolution, and it's just one of those they just so happen to be non-binary, and I like
Hmm.
that. Like the focus of their character isn't the fact that like they're non-binary. They just so happen to be non-binary in good non-binary
Yeah,
character.
and like also the main characters are in a there are two girls that are dating, which is pretty important. Um, I think.
Hmm.
Like there's a lots of different kinds of queer people in this show, and it's unfortunately a big part of why it got canceled, though I'm sure that COVID didn't help. Um and the shifting like the shifting paradigm of how cartoons are released and made as well. Because things changed a lot while Owl House is airing. We mostly stream our shows now, and I think when Owl House was released that wasn't really the case. Like they were still hoping that cable would be the main thing or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
but like let's not pretend that the main character having a girlfriend wasn't a factor. So on one hand, I really appreciate that. Um that it's this is just a world where people can be gay and non-binary and bisexual and whatever, and it's not really like questioned. It's just taken as like this is a why would there be homophobia in the witch world? Like that's weird. to just
Right.
accept that it's like all societies are going to have homophobia, like regardless. Um, you know, let's not make that assumption. And I think that there's some other like background characters that are gay. Like I think Willow's parents are gay guys.
Yeah. Willow
Yeah.
has two dads, and plus, there's characters that look like humanoid-esque characters, but also there's those that look like straight up monsters, and that's just treated as the norm as well.
Hmm. Yeah. So like why would we stress about somebody having a different skin color or like being gay when like monsters are just around? Like and that kind of makes sense to me, I guess. Um
Hmm.
that being said, I feel like maybe not Rain in particular, but I feel like there is a class of representation, quote unquote, where it's like it is tokenization, but it's a specific kind of it. And it's like, hey,
Hmm.
they're in the background. They don't have a character arc, and the whole point of them being there is entirely to do with the main characters. Like, uh, that's kind of the quote unquote representation that I really take umbrage with. Maybe I shouldn't have used Rain. Um, I lived in a world where like, oh right, it isn't normal for two main characters to be dating, and that was a kind of a big deal for this show. I was just thinking of like, what are some like queer people of color that are kind of in the background and like they're there but they're not there as much as their counterparts, and then I realized like, oh wait a minute. It's like when people this might be dating me a little bit. It's like when people got mad about Work from Star Trek and how he's bad representation for black men. And it's like, okay, he first of all, he's an alien. Second of all, you're mischaracterizing him. Third of all, Geordie LaFord is right fucking there, and so is Guinan. There are other people on board the Enterprise that are black, and there's other people in DS9 had a black captain. Like, and again, I'm not black, so if I'm overstepping, let me know. But like, it doesn't make sense to be like this one character is because you have other examples. You have very many different kinds of people of color on Star Trek, and you have very many different kinds of people of color and queer people on Owl House. That maybe Rain wasn't a good example, but there are characters like them, and they'd be the only example of diversity in the cast. And I personally never appreciated that kind of quote unquote representation. I don't need you to wheel out fucking RuPaul Charles for the fifth fucking time on a sitcom on daytime television to appear for 20 minutes as a drag queen and be like, yeah, but I am still attracted to women. Don't worry, I'm not actually gay. And then go back, and that's the only time that we hear anybody talk about gender presentation and homosexuality in the whole show. Like that to me isn't doing anything for me personally.
I'll save this tangent when we get talking about like Piccolo and
Yeah.
mystical like characters, because there is a logic,
Yeah.
I can say, in the black community as to why we kind of project onto non-human characters.
Mm-hmm. It's, yeah. They could be, so they are, because you don't give us anything else, and I yeah think
Yeah,
that's
well,
not.
bonus
Yeah.
points if the actual actor is a person of color or if
Mm-hmm.
they themselves are black, like Husk from the Owl House. Oh my god, not the Owl House. Bleh. Hazbin Hotel. Wrong queer show.
Queer show
Husk,
inside a building, so close.
damn it. Husker is supposed. I remember once upon a time ago there was like character sheets of how he's supposed to be like, oh, Russian or something, or like white. And like, of
What?
course, before what people, yeah, a lot of people before they knew what he could have actually looked like, made a lot of
Ooh.
fan art in the pilot days of like him being white or just assumed he was white. And at the time, I think his voice actor was not black, and the type in the head canon voice idea for him would have been someone like Rick Sanchez with a gruff, raspy kind of voice because he's an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
But now that he is voiced by Keith David, I've been seeing a lot of human Husker has turned black. He could be a black Russian, or people just assume he's black. Personally, I can understand why people would feel as such because oh, he's voiced by Keith David, so therefore coded black. He is black. He's black, and I'm like, I mean, he's kind of as black as Alistair is black, as in there was no intention at all. And cool if you resonate with him to be black, but it was not intentional.
Yeah. Um, Rain good though, I think. Rain pretty good.
I think Rain is neat.
Yeah. I don't have any hard feelings about Rain at the end of the day. I think there's better examples in the show of representation for one thing. Um and for another, like they're inoffensive at the end of the day.
Right.
They're not super in your face, but in any case, um that's the thumbnail. And I think right now we can go into a couple of the there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about, and you seem really keen to talk about characters like Piccolo. And I also want to talk about
Ye
characters like Piccolo. So I think that's the next.
We could talk about like the whole Sonic franchise of characters. The
Mhm.
amount of times I see different like tier lists of what people think or headcanon like Sonic characters are ethnicity wise, race wise. A lot of debates that like, oh, Sonic is white. Nah, Sonic light skin, bruh.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Knuckles,
so
hands down, black.
yeah, no,
Intentionally black.
absolutely. Knuckles has dreads. I think it would be offensive if he was white.
Right.
In any case, no, I think that's okay. So we've said Piccolo's name a couple times. Please explain. Please educate the masses.
All right. So Piccolo, uh, obviously a character from Dragon Ball Z, green alien, Namekian. The lore that I know of now was he was like introduced as like a slug demon and evil. Became chummy with the main cast, is now on their ally ship and friend. Found out there's a whole planet of Namekians. He thought he was the only one of his kind. There's a whole planet of Namekians, and they only survive off of water. And they're primarily male presenting aliens. But now, I think in Dragon Ball Daima, they introduced the lore that Namekians are actually like they were all once enslaved and they were like demon underlings and such. So even before that, a lot of people in the black community, when growing up with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, I can just speak from my own experience, and I know for some of my friends and black friends too can speak on this as well.
Mhm,
Growing up seeing Piccolo, he was like the stone cold badass. He was the most
mhm,
logical, and he also just did not give a crap about some people's shit. And his relationship with Gohan was really genuine for a lot of us. And it was
mhm.
just like, nah, that's Ankh. That's my nigga right there. He is the turban, the fit. I can't really explain it, but the black community has a tendency to adopt characters and just say, you are black now. You're black coded in my mind. And the black community is like, yeah, yeah, I'll allow it. Yeah, sure, why not? It's just the aura.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain if you're not black, and even if you are black, it might be hard to comprehend, but you kind of understand it to an extent.
I mean, like, because I think this isn't even coding, because there's no black
No,
coding
it's
here. It's
it's
purely
purely
vibes. It's purely
projection.
aura. It's pure aura.
It's
That's
aura,
it.
it's vibes, it's projecting, and now with the new lore that like Namekians were enslaved and such, so it's like, see, he even more nigga.
Yeah, I mean, like, when people started pointing that to me, I'm like, you know what? I can see it. Like, yeah, sure, absolutely. I believe in my heart that Piccolo is black. I'm
But
not
his
gonna argue
voice
with you.
actor in the original dub is Japanese, and his voice actor in the English dub is white or just not black. Cool. That's still my nigga though.
Yeah, I fully, yeah, no, that makes sense to me. Yeah, yeah, you don't need to convince me. I accept it.
To
Assigned
a certain
black by
degree,
vibe check. Oh my god, squeakers.
To a
Um,
certain degree, the Black community, when we see a character that's just, he's so me, or I want to be so him, it's
mhm,
like aspirational. It's like
mhm.
I'm gonna take this one. This one's mine. But he's not black. He's not white either.
And this is a part of the thing that I wanted to talk about a lot too. Piccolo made a lot of black people feel very seen, gave them something to aspire to without
Mhm.
actually being depicted as black in the show. Um, and I think that there's something interesting that goes on when that happens. I would rather a character like this surface than a character like Alistair. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
for
think
sure.
that's yeah.
Piccolo is 10 times blacker than Alistair. I can say that with I will say that with my full chest.
Or and other characters that like it's just like a skin deep um it's just a skin deep representation. Um and
Mhm.
there's no depth to the character, there's no exploration on struggles that could be related to from people in that community. Um I would say that that's part of the issue with Emily too. Again, I'm not super familiar with her as a character, but it doesn't sound like she's made for people to feel seen. So I don't even know if that's really representation. It's more like, hey, angels don't have to have pale skin. And it's like, okay, cool. And that's kind of feels like the most that they thought that through, if that makes
I
sense.
kind of feel no, yeah, I understand you with that.
So
Emily is just was first made to be just. It just feels like she has a role to play in the show, and that was
mhm,
first and foremost. Meanwhile, Sarah, well, again supposed to has a black voice actress. Voice was supposed to be of a woman of color in the voice notes. Her hair, people will argue that they're locks. Nah, those are more like Shirley Temple curls. Let's be honest. But I feel like how she's been moving in season 2. Yeah, this is very black woman having a struggle and making sure you make the right decision, but you're overwhelmed and you're not sure what you're doing is right, and everyone wants you to make the right decision and make the right choice. It's like, yes, that's so black woman.
yeah. And I think that I think that when things are a bit more I'm gonna go back to Piccolo again. Um ambiguous, it also allows multiple different kinds of people that might be like struggling with
Yeah,
similar issues because, it allows
it's left
many different
purpose.
people to relate to them. Not that you should need
Yeah,
somebody to be the same race as you to relate to them, but um I don't know. There's some interesting stuff going on there. Another
it's kind
kind. Oh,
of.
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say it feels like it's intentionally left vague enough where you can just project or extrapolate from what you want, or
Mhm.
it's really left up to interpretation.
Yeah. Um, Another kind of character that I want to bring up is characters of Lion King. We're talking about the cartoon. So, um, obviously, I mean,
The
it,
lions are from Africa, so they're all black. I'm not
all of the
even arguing this.
characters, all of the
They're all
characters.
black.
Also, I have always loved Whoopi Goldberg's persona and Cheech's persona being like they just look like
Hyenas are
them as
voiced
well.
by 3 black comedians, so like it's all niggas in here.
Um, and then you see the Broadway stage and it's even more overt. But I feel on one hand, that's awesome. But on the other hand, they made the evil lion brown. So that's a choice. But
That's
then,
just that's just nature. There are lions with a darker
yeah,
mane.
there is.
Genetically
But
speaking, Scar is genetically superior from what I've seen of a film theory. The darker maned lions are genetically superior.
Yeah, but he's also a runt, I believe, is the like he was like
Yeah, he's a
kind of
bit more
skinny.
scrawny.
But then you
Yeah.
also got Kovu,
I love
and
Kovu.
I think Kovu is an interesting example when it comes to representation, because like
Ye
he is an outsider that is getting persecuted because of the way he looks and because of who his family is through no fault of
Mhm,
his own. He's like kind of groomed into a certain way of life. His romantic relationship is frowned upon by both of their families. And I feel like as a character, this allows him to be relatable to multiple different kinds of people. Like if you've got like a forbidden love, you're an outsider, you're pushed towards um a certain path that, might be
I
destructive.
love Lion Romeo and Juliet minus the dying.
There's the thing that always stuck out to me in this movie was a scene at the end where Kiara is like them, us, they are us, and like pointing out that like, not that different at the end of the day. Like any sort of differences that you can make between people, at the end of the day we're still all just people. And like, not to be like a little dorky nerd, but the human
Mhm,
genome is one of the least diverse genomes in the world. Humans are more similar to one another genetically speaking than, I believe, pretty much any other mammal. Um,
mhm.
and not
See
only that, but like some, and this is something that I kind of like to talk about to kind of, and like I know that I don't need you to tell. I know that you don't need me to tell you that on the inside people aren't that different, but to really put that into perspective to people that maybe not grasp that on like a scientific level and like having that to kind of validate them, the people that you were descended from, no matter where you are in the world, from the continent of Africa, you are more closely related to the people that live in that same village that your people came from than that village is to the next village over. Which is it's just a weird, fascinating
Mhm.
way that the genetics and math work out. And it's just, humans are just kind of all the same at the end of the day. We all kind of want the same things. And even if that kind of plays out in different ways, I think that xenofiction is a big thing that I want to talk about, and I'll before we move on, I'll let you say what you were going to say. But I think xenofiction, which is basically, I guess you could argue it's like furry shit, but it's a little bit more than that. It's like your Watership
Mhm.
Down, your Guardians of Ga'Hoole, your Redwall, your Rats of Nim, your like that's xenofiction, where it's kind of exploring the human condition using animals. But
Oh,
yes,
like with
yeah.
Mouse.
Yes, Mouse is a good example of
Ah,
xenofiction.
I read
But
I read
yes,
that as
go
a kid.
you say what you were gonna say before we go too far into that.
Krim, I love your interpretation of like that scene of us, them, we are them, they are us type shit. It it really is very humbling the humanitarian in me. But honestly, the black side of the blackness of me, I always kind of interpret that scene, and you can interpret Lion King too. Of course, Romeo and Juliet, different odds, different struggle. You can even interpret it as like class struggle, since like the lions in the outlands are impoverished. Where they
Mhm,
are, there's like there's no decent food, there's no water, hardly anything. They're all fighting for scraps. While in
mhm,
the Pride Land, it's luscious. They have more than enough to like satisfy themselves. But
mhm,
I always kind of, and also I think I kind of took it more of a face value with like their coding. How the
mhm,
Outlanders had like a darker or grayish tone to their fur
mhm,
versus the Pride Landers, where they're a bit more golden and lighter. I kind of saw that. You can also interpret that as like within the black community, light skin versus dark
mhm,
skin, because I don't know if you remember, in early YouTube, there was, like, a lot of those, "Hey, light-skinned girl or dark-skinned girl," or "What's your opinion on dark-skinned people
Mhm,
versus light-skinned people?" That kinda, that obnoxious othering of the colorism, and when I see that scene, it
mhm,
just kinda reminds me of, like, dark-skinned people, light-skinned people. Yes, there are a lot of stigmas followed with dark-skinned people. That's just rooted in ignorance and just wrong. And there's also some privileges that light-skinned people, and also me myself as a light-skinned person, have to recognize that I have over
mhm,
dark-skinned people. And my proximity to whiteness makes it a little easier and it makes me a little bit more palatable to them
mhm,
versus someone who's much more a lot more shades darker than I am. So when
mhm.
they all come together into one big pride, it's like, oh, now why can't the black community do that?
Yeah, and again, that's the as as somebody that isn't white but is often white passing, like I absolutely see that interpretation too, and a very I think that's a very important message as well. But you can take different meanings. Like when you're just talking about a story about disenfranchised, repressed, oppressed people, if you're
Hmm.
using, if you're telling it like this, you can get so many interpretations out of it. You can get so many messages out of it. People can look at it of all different kinds of people can look at it and be like, that's me. And that says something about me and my experience as a human being. Um,
Hmm.
and I think, see, both of us got very positive messages out of that, I think.
Yeah.
And I think they're both completely valid. They both make
Hmm.
sense to me. Um, but it allows us, it's because it's more abstract. It gives more people more access to it. And I'm not saying I want all representation to be abstract. I'm
God,
saying that
no.
sometimes, like, they can be more powerful than the, like, hey, here's a black character. Like, for example, can you name one or more than one Green Lantern from DC that was black other than John Stewart? Because he came out in 1971, was one of the first black superheroes, period. Um, and there have been several Green Lanterns that are black since him, but nobody remembers them. Unless you're a big Green Lantern fan, and if you're a big Green Lantern fan, I don't know what to tell you. I'm so sorry. But like what has that really, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
there's
cuz
not really a lot you can name off the top of your head, which is funny. I was talking about this with my partner the other day
Mhm.
about how, when listing black heroes off the top of my head, and when I'm really thinking about it, I can only list up to like 5 or 7 off the top of my head versus white heroes. Oh, I can give you an endless list. There's
Yeah.
not a lot.
I mean, like I'm a big superhero fan, so I have, but again, that's a world that I very much live in, but even then, like um
Just
something
like
that I wish I could
casual.
remember. Yeah. Exactly. A casual fans aren't, or like even casual viewers aren't going to be able to name a whole bunch. Um and another issue is particularly in superheroes that keeps happening is like, yes, they are introducing, oh, here's a new cast of young people, and then there's like some gay characters, there's some black characters, there's some this and that, and some trans characters even, and like this is so cool. And what always ends up happening is that new generation always gets recycled and we remember the classics. Um
Hmm.
and when you look at characters as well, like Damian Wayne, who got less brown. I think they're kind of
Hmm.
pushing him back. But like we've had, like, I think officially, um, depending on who you want to count as a Robin,
Okay.
we have the big four. We have Dick, Jason, Tim, and Damien. Um, and again, Damien, they're kind of revisiting what he looks like. Um, for a little while, Dick was Romani, but they've also sort of retconned that and they've pushed that away. But all of them have had like black hair, light skin, and blue or green eyes. All of them.
Mm.
And that's a character that has existed, since World War II, has passed on the mantle several different times, and surface level, they all fucking look the same. You've got characters like you've got kind of characters connected to Batman. You've got oh god, Duke is black, but he was never allowed to be a Robin, so that was something that I always thought was an interesting choice. You've got two female characters that were allowed to be Robin, which is Stephanie, Stephanie and Carrie, but both of them kind of don't really count because Carrie was in an alternate universe and Stephanie Brown ended up being Batgirl for a little while instead.
Mhm.
Until it was relinquished, the identity was relinquished back to Barbara Gordon. And you have Cassandra Cain, who is, I think she's supposed to be Asian. I think she's supposed to be Chinese specifically, but I could be wrong. Who I think is the best Batgirl. She
Mhm.
is also mute. They've kind of walked that back a little bit in recent years, which I kind of have a problem with, but whatever. And at the time was like, if there's anybody that's going to take over the mantle when Bruce goes, it would obviously be her because she's the most like Batman out of any of the other characters. So it's kind of interesting that she was kind of held as the character that was most like Batman and the most capable of being the next Batman. But obviously, anyway, my point being that like you have all of these characters that come as like, oh, this is kind of cool representation. But at the end of the day, when you think of Batman, you think of a white guy. When you think of Robin, you think of a white guy. When you think of a Batgirl, you think of a white girl. And I would say that Batman is probably one of the most popular superheroes, period. And
Mhm.
if you want to look on the Marvel side of it, um, what has Spider-Man done differently? I think is a question that we should be asking ourselves because while I think Peter Parker is still seen as the default Spider-Man, Miles has really made a name for himself as a character, like in
Mhm.
terms of writing, and then you have the Into the Spider-Verse stuff that has just not only is it just an amazing story, an amazing movie, but has revolutionized film and
Mhm.
animated film on a whole. Like that's there's so many cool things about Into the Spider Verse, but what makes Miles different than like the three Black Green Lanterns we've had, and like characters like Duke and Cassandra Cain, and like what do you think? That was a bit of a
It
rant.
No, you're good. I think at least for Miles in his case, he's allowed to be his own like person and character. Because
Yeah,
yes, he's from an alternate universe, but he's not like an alternate Peter Parker. Because in his world, there was an alternative Peter Parker. He's just some kid from Brooklyn, just like how Peter Parker was just some kid from Queens. And
yeah.
again, I do like the message that anyone can wear the mask. I think that also
Mhm.
lends itself with Spider-Man. And even if you stick with mainline Spider-Man, it could really be anyone behind that mask. Like that's the point of the full mask. Versus like with
Yeah.
Batman, you always see a piece of his mouth is sticking out. I think I saw somewhere where there was a time that there was a black Batman, but he had his full face concealed because Batman usually does work close with the police. But there I think there was like a tongue-in-cheek way of them pointing out that notice how this black Batman conceals his face fully versus a white Batman.
Well, funny you should say that. Do you know what the characters? Because there's a couple different times when Batman was black. There is just a alternate, an alternate Earth where all of the Justice League are black, um, which I
Eee.
think is cool. But also, like, why does it have to be an alternate universe? I don't know about that, but
Because if
whatever.
we give the you give the Negro more than they deserve, then they'll think they'll want more and more, and then they'll want to feel like they're on an equal level playing field as their white predecessor. Even though you give the Negro the scraps and the race swaps, they will not be satisfied because they refuse to yield.
So it's interesting that you say that the black Batman had his face covered because this is what Cassandra Cain, her Batgirl uniform looks like. I think it's fucking badass.
Coincidence?
But again, this is like the first Batgirl that wasn't white. Very visibly when you see her without, you
Coincidence?
know? Or uh, I just think it's interesting that that happens a lot. Um, I don't think Miles is a good example of that. Just because it's kind of playing into the anybody could be Spider-Man thing. And I also don't think that I think that Miles does exist in mainline Marvel.
Yep.
Anthony, are you still there? Okay, you know. Okay. Anthony's my comic book expert. And I have another person around, Anne Marie, but I don't know if she's watching. In any case, do you know when another black character that was introduced around the same time as Miles that I don't hear anybody talk about? There's even a movie about them.
Oh,
It's America. Um, they were introduced around the same time when they were doing Young Avenger stuff. Uh,
oh,
Geez. No, no, not Captain America. It's
no?
not Captain America. She's a female character. I know her first name is just America. There it is. It's
America Chavez?
America Chavez. America, yeah, America Chavez. I think that she was in the comics was black. I can swear. I swear to God.
I thought she was at least like biracial or mixed. I know
Yeah,
she has two moms.
yeah. I mean, like I mean, that was how I interpreted her when I first saw her in Young Avengers. But like, I thought that she was like biracial. She was black and Latina, but again, like it's comic book, so they're not always super clear. Um, in any
Could
case,
also just be benefiting from being racially ambiguous again.
yeah. I mean, I like the hair texture's pretty. Like I don't know. Again, I
You
could
could be Afro
the,
Latina. I can see it.
my point being is that like you don't really see a lot of people talking about her these days. You see the movie, but I don't even I don't even really hear people talk about the movie. I thought the movie was decent. Um, but nobody talks about her, and she came around the same time that Miles did. Um, so like
Hmm.
it's oh here we go. Yeah, I think she is because look in this one it's a lot more. She's got textured hair. I think she's supposed to be Afro
Oh
Latina.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, in any case, my point is that I like this character, but it feels like there's like a picking and choosing, and Miles was definitely picked to rise above, and maybe that's because Spider-Man's just a more popular character, and
Mhm.
I feel like people because Young Avengers basically what happened is that the Avengers disappeared and a group of characters, a group of teenagers kind of sort of took over their roles. So you had America Chavez took over the role of Captain America. You had Billy taking over the role of Wanda, I think. Anyway, and they had their names were kind of derivatives of um, the characters that they were taking over for. Um, and I think that because of the kind of character that Steve is and the way that he operates within the Marvel universe, I think it was always gonna kind of be a hard sell to get America to fill that role.
Mhm.
So they're it's like they're less willing to take a risk with her in the way that they did Miles, you know? And that kind of
Right.
yeah. Oh yes, she's also bisexual, I think, which is cool. She's got a girlfriend in Young
Yeah,
Avengers, I think. I don't know. It's been a while since I read Young Avengers. Um,
cool.
but yeah, so there's this whole new cast of characters, and like Billy and Teddy were gay, and then you had America, and you had like I don't think that Miss Marvel and Miles were on the Young Avengers, but it was in the same sort of initiative, if that makes sense, where they were wanting to refresh the characters and give a new generation a shot, but I could be
Mhm.
mistaken. Um, but a lot of characters like this get left behind, um, and they don't stick in the minds of the general public, which I also think is. Oh, did you hear about the new Marvel character? She's black, or he's gay, or like when I found out that Iceman was gay, I was like, okay, I don't care. Okay, what is I, who like to be blunt, who cares about Iceman? I certainly never did. I wasn't like, man, I sure hope that Iceman is gay. That's just it's just okay, like cool. I think it came about because they had the joke in the X-Men movies where Iceman came out as a mutant to his parents, and they kind of made it seem as a joke like, he have you ever tried not being a mutant, like
Mm.
so that was kind of a
Mhm.
joke. So like, well, what if he was gay? And I don't know. I feel like that was like a probably a weird day in the writing room. There's not a lot going on, but do you know what I mean about the characters that get left behind and forgotten because it's
Yeah.
they're not doing much.
Right. I get you.
Um, I need a character to have more staying power before I consider them before I get excited and invested in them, because there's like a lot of like First Nation and trans characters that I have gotten excited for and then disappointed in because like, oh, so they're like showing up for like an hour and then I'm never gonna see them again. Cool. That doesn't feel when somebody says it gets all excited about representation and then that's what I get, and yet this other character, this white, straight, like
Mhm.
heterosexual character gets the spotlight and has been for ages and ages, and there's so many different kinds of cis white straight characters, you know.
Right.
It's just it gets frustrating, and it's just to that point I stopped looking towards things like Marvel and like things that are representing humans for feeling that empathy towards, and I started looking more towards the fantastical. Like, here's an alien and they could be anything. You could interpret them as anything, and I don't have to like bring the baggage of like racism into it. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Um,
And I think there's like a double-edged sword too when it comes to the being ambiguous, but also very much up to interpretation. Like, if you allow me, I have a little side tangent here,
yep,
but
go for it.
uh, with I'm assuming are you familiar with K-pop Demon Hunters?
I am. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm familiar with it. I have a lot of friends that like it.
So good, so good. So Rumi is half demon, and she's ashamed of that because it was instilled in her to, you know, on that Elsa shit of conceal it, hide it. Demons are wretched. So, and she internalized that, like, well, if demons are wretched and demons are bad, and I'm half demon, that means I'm bad. I'm no good, and I have to be
Mhm,
better, and I have to hide this and find a way to fix it. So, coming across through her journey is basically self acceptance and self love.
mhm,
And you can really interpret her being half demon as either a lot of people favor to interpret it as like an LGBTQ like story and whatnot, and I can see how that is possible as well because it has similar like themings of like hiding yourself, learning to accept yourself, and coming out uh, to other people who you're afraid who might not accept you and such. But another way to like interpret it is also like being biracial
yep.
or a part of disability. too
Mhm.
can also like the whole demon thing with Rumi specifically can be up to interpretation to any of those things. What annoys me and pisses me off is when the dominant conversation around it is just LGBTQ. I don't mind that. It's fine, but when it's the dominant conversation and when I see this Korean inspired and Korean made piece of art being dominated by white queer kids just
Mhm.
talking about how no, it's gay. It's all gay. It's just gay. And I'm like, it's not just gay. It can be interpreted in different means in different ways. It pigeonholes the conversation and I'm sorry, every time when white people realize that they're queer and they come out and they learn to love themselves and accept themselves, cool, awesome, love that for you. You're still white, honey.
Mhm.
You being queer, that can easily still be hidden if you need it to be. I can't turn off being black. I can't hide my curls.
Yeah.
Well, I really
Yeah.
related to like Rumi.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like visible versus invisible like differences is like a whole fucking conversation that we could have. Um
Oh yes.
for the white people in my audience, do not come for Artiste. I agree with her a lot that like being a white queer person is a lot different than being a black person, and especially a lot different from being a black queer person. And black queer people often get caught in the middle, and they often like my one of my mentors is a gay black man. Was one of the people that like got me into like the whole like therapy stuff. I took a lot of classes from him, and a story that he always told whenever he had a new group, and I think I took different courses with him like 3 or 4 times, was like he always felt like he had to choose between being gay and being black. And that's not
Hmm.
something that anybody should have to choose. Um, so they're the people that end up getting the hurt the most when there's this. I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong, but I'm saying that like I find that white queer people are a bit worse about it. I can't say what's happening inside the black community because I'm not part of it. But when you're being racist towards black people or elevating your experience above black people, you're there are people in your community that are taking friendly fire because you perceive like you're trying to separate the issues, you know? Um, So fucking stop doing that. I'm not going to talk about homophobia within a community that I'm not a part of. I know that it's a problem.
Oh,
Not something that I
it's a
can.
big problem in the
It's
black community.
yeah. I personally don't feel comfortable speaking on it myself. But like white queer people, fuck off, please. Like people in your community are getting hurt when you do this shit. Um. Anyway, the thing that I like about shows, and I haven't seen it, so I can't say, is that I realize that yes, it is made in Korea, so obviously the characters are Korean, but it's an example of like yes, there is actual, and Owl House does this too. The characters from K-pop Demon Hunters and Luz from Owl House, or like the main character from Amphibia, whose name I am slipping up on. These
And
are all, and yes, they're all people of color, and they're also dealing with a world where you can take so many different meanings because it's more ambiguous. So you have both, and Star Trek does it too. You have like human characters of color, like Geordie LaForge, and you have a you have a character like Worf who is coded to be black, is struggling with being adopted by human parents and being separate from, like, these are things that like adopted parents, what do they call it, it means something different now, unfortunately, but
transracial.
that's what transracial originally meant, is you are being adopted by a family that is a different race than yourself. And that comes with its own unique struggles, and that is Worf's struggles in Star Trek. And you also have, even in the original series, you had Uhura on the main deck, who, if you didn't know, Uhura being on Star Trek is what made Whoopi feel like she could be an actress, and then Whoopi got to be on Star Trek The Next Generation. So I think that's really cool. Big
Mm.
full circle moment. I love when that happens a lot on Doctor Who as well, though it's not like a racial thing, but like because the Doctor's been white, a white man up until very recently. Point being that I love when people are like, I like this thing, I want to get into acting or directing because of this, and then they get to go on it. And I think it's really magical that Whoopi Goldberg got to do that with Star Trek. But we had Uhura, but we also had Spock, who is a biracial character, but he's an half alien, half human. So you get the best of both worlds. And I think that for me personally, that's my favorite kind of representation. And it might be because I like fantasy and sci-fi as my favorite genre. Um, Outside of getting into the specific of xenofiction, because xenofiction is kind of like a niche genre of fantasy, but I'm not going to get into xenofiction specifically just yet. Um, but it allows you to have like, hey, that character is 100% definitely black, but also there's this character of that's in a fantasy sense is a allegory about having a foot in both worlds and struggling with both sides of their identity, that multiple people can relate to. And when you layer that kind of thing with each other, I think it creates a very powerful message, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I hope I didn't interrupt your tangent. I sensed that you were done, but like I could have been wrong on that. I'm sorry.
No, no, I'm done. I'm done. It's just it also happens a lot when it comes to like Asian characters, unfortunately,
Hmm.
like especially those that uh people often forget pale Asian characters are still Asian.
Yep.
So their proximity to whiteness is unfortunately compromised by white people.
Usagi Tsukino is Japanese. She has blonde hair and blue eyes because she's the moon princess. And the moon princess has light hair because the moon is light. Um, I feel like that's a logical like I don't know what to say about that. That's a Japanese character. I don't know why
I don't know.
people.
Naruto Uzumaki is in a like a mixture of Japan, Chinese mixture there. And he's blonde, blue eyed.
Mhm. That's but it's like for a lot of anime characters, them having yellow or blonde hair is the same as them having pink or green hair. It's all like fancy colors to them look to make them stand out. And then you also have characters um who oh god, something that I think that a lot of people don't realize is that like, well, why does she have blue hair if she's supposed to? It's because when most people in Japan have dark hair. But if you're
Mhm.
living in an area where you have um, a more similar features, like you have a lot of people with dark hair, you're going to pick up on things like undertones. Like some people with dark hair have blonde undertones or red undertones, or you have raven hair, so you have blue undertones. And because it's a cartoon, it gets exaggerated. So a character you might like, oh, this is a character that I'm drawing, and maybe it's based on this person who has dark hair but reddish undertones, and then the anime version of that character comes out and they have like pink or red hair. It's doesn't like that's something that always gets on my last nerve is people like not realizing that like just because like anime characters don't look like a stereotype of what we in the West consider an Asian character doesn't mean they don't look Asian from an Asian person's perspective. Um and that's like oh, hold on a second. Sorry to like 0 days since Kingdom Hearts mentioned, but um I am not normal about Kingdom Hearts. I don't think that's a good example. Here we go. This is a good example. So here's Kyrie. Red hair,
Mhm.
pale skin, blue eyes. Here's who she's based on. She's based on, like, she's specifically made to look like Utada Hikaru. And
Oh,
like
I can see
that's the
it.
same fucking person. I feel like Square Enix is in particular, like, these characters look Asian. They are Asian. Even a character like Cloud has Asian facial features, but not in the way that the West kind of interprets them. It's the way that the artists interpret themselves. So I feel like that's also a bit of a problem in terms of, like, I don't know if I call this representation problem, but more of like an interpretation, and how, like, the West demands that anime and Japanese media and, like, foreign media be sort of interpreted through a lens that it was never meant to be interpreted. And I think Hideki Anno was right. Japanese people should not be concerned about making anime for a global audience. They should be making art and shows for themselves that speak to who they are as people individually. And he thinks that the rest of the world will be able to handle that. It's not going to break, that people will still like those shows even if they're not made for a global audience. And he's right. And if you didn't know it, Hideki Anno is the creator of Evangelion, which is a very Japanese anime, but it's very much bastardized by the Western fandom, and be like, oh, look, all these Christian symbols. No, no, guys. In terms of like the cultural and spiritual messages in Evangelion, it's not Christian at all. It's a lot more in line with like Shintoism and Buddhism and Eastern
Mhm.
religions. It's just skin. It's just the skin surface level. Uh, I would say the same goes for like a series like Zelda 2, where it's like, oh, this takes place in Europe. It's like, actually, the way that these castles are built are more in line with like a Japanese castle that just kind of looks European if you don't look too closely. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that issue goes beyond just characters being like, oh, blonde hair, blue eyes, must be white. I think that happens in anime and a lot of video games in general.
I think to that point of making something for yourself first and
Hmm.
global audience like second, it reminds me of this movie, really great movie, came out in 2023, based
Hmm.
off a book called Erase. The movie itself is called American Fiction. It's a comedy drama, really good on both ends, I'd say. Basically, it's about an author. His name's like Monk. He's a prolific black author, has all the acolytes, very intelligent, writes very really good books, but
Hmm.
because they're not what the white audience is usually going to eat up, they don't sell as well.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, there's an author played by Issa Rae who also writes books, but her books are from the perspective of like what you kind of would expect a white audience that's more palatable to a white audience of what they
Hmm.
would expect from black people of it being hyper exaggerated ghetto and whatnot.
Hmm.
But the so him and his frustration, he does not want to belittle himself and like if they're looking for a black author, he's like I am a black author, but they're looking for a black author
Hmm.
and whatnot. And he
Hmm.
thinks that's very belittling for his people to even do that. So he decides to make like under a different pen name, write the most like stereotypical black book ever. And it's doing gangbangers. And unfortunately, it's doing gangbanger numbers for him, where his family is in a very tight financial crisis. So he keeps this up. Um, but he comes to the point where he talks to actually that author who writes the stereotypical like ghetto books. And
Hmm.
from her perspective, these are not like these might come off as stereotypes, but it's like actually real to what happened to her. And
Yep.
it's a very interesting movie. It's great if you're like a writer, if you're creative in general, even more so like as a black creative of like what does it mean to like make yourself palatable, and what are you willing to compromise for your
Mhm.
art just to have it out there in the first place versus like the authenticity of who you are. It's
Mhm.
very interesting. I want more people to get into it because it's just so effing good. But it just reminds me of that, of just making something for yourself first and foremost.
And I think at the end of the day, that's that's kind of the crux of the matter. And I think we're going to start getting into a turning point in our discussion here. Is that oh no, like one last point that I want to bring up is people
Mhm.
demanding representation in fan fiction. If you are one of those people, you don't understand why representation is important. And it's not because, man, I wish somebody would tell a story about black people or gay people. We've been fucking telling our stories for a long time, but they just don't get platformed in the way that white people's stories get platformed or straight people's stories get platformed. Um,
Mhm.
that's why people seek out representation because we know the stories are there. They just get suppressed. Um, so what people have done for a long time, you should get characters um like Xena. You get things like xenofiction, where they're coding the characters or they're slipping things under the radar because they want to tell this story, but they know that it won't get platformed if it's like, oh, yep, Xena is a lesbian. That's not the character. What's her name? This character's name. I can't remember what her name is. Anyway, the actors and the creator and the writers were like, oh no, yeah, they were gay. They were in a relationship. They were girlfriends, but they could never say that out loud because they
Mhm.
would get their show canceled because that's what happened to shows like Ellen. That's why Garnet was done the way that she was done, was so that they could slip her in there. And by the time she became indispensable and Steven Universe was successful, you couldn't get rid of her. We've had to be real sneaky in the past. Um, Mouse is a good example you brought up earlier, where a graphic novel about the Jewish Holocaust was created, but they made the mice as a metaphor, but also because it might have been a little bit harder to sell something like that if that was like real people. So they had to, you have to mix it up a little bit. And
Sometimes it's not very subtle. They made the police pigs.
yeah, I thought they made them cats. They made the Germans. They made the Germans cats. Yes, right.
Right, right.
It's been a long time.
I'm thinking of like
Uh,
the police officers, not the Germans.
yeah, 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 yeah. In yeah, yeah, yeah. After like when they, yes, yes. And like you've got things like, God, I don't want to talk about Animal Farm today. We're not talking about the new movie. I'll talk about that at a later date. But you know, um, and there was American Tail also did the whole Jewish people are mice and like the white people that are oppressing them are cats, and so that's a pretty
Mhm.
typical metaphor as far as I've experienced. It's happened a couple times. Um, in any case,
Zootopia tried to do that.
Zootopia.
The sequel was very much better at the point they were
I,
trying to get across, though.
I feel like that if they hadn't it's like sort of smoothed down the edges, if we had the original Zootopia, um, I think that could have been a bit more profound and interesting in terms of a message they were trying to say. So,
Mhm.
um, ooh, thank you for the super chat page. Moon Girl's trans episode that was fully produced but never allowed to air. Exactly. This episode that was made and ready and like the story was told and it was a good episode. I haven't seen it. Sorry, but like it was very critically well received. Um,
Mhm.
it was just left on the cutting room floor. People had to fucking like they got leaked. That was the only way people could watch it. Um,
Very fitting for the theme of the episode of, like, breaking the rules. Don't play by their rules because 'cause you'll never win.
yeah. But like this the so when people are like asking about like, hey, you need to make more representation in your fan fiction. Um, first of all, pick up a freaking pencil. Like this is a hobby. Like if you want to see yourself more in fan fiction, like that's kind of on you. And the discussion about representation is never has never been about like to be a good person you have to include this character and that character and this kind of character and this kind of character. That's never what the discussion was about, and it's not going to make you a good person to have a lesbian or to have a black girl in your book or your cartoon. That's not good in and of itself. Um, and I think that's where the sort of thing that I've been getting stuck on within the last few months, maybe the last year or two, when we have been seeing more representation pop up. Like something similar happened in the 90s, actually.
Mhm.
And it's the tokenization thing where, oh, well, we've got like our little group of five teenagers. So we've got to make sure we've got like, oh, here's the Asian girl, here's the black guy with like the fade and and here's
Mm.
the vaguely like you don't quite like he could be Latino or he could be white. You don't there was like you could
One
predict
plus
what was the
size kid.
saying. Yeah, 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 and here's a nerd. Here's a guy with glasses that always gets called Four Eyes and it's kind of awkward. We've got everybody represented.
Goonies!
Yippee! You got your Goonies, you got your and I like Magic School Bus and I like the Goonies. But you know what I mean? Like you've got
Mhm.
it's like they
Yeah.
were filling roles and that's what tokenization was and I fear that that's what it's becoming again. Um
Mhm.
where it's less concerned about telling stories that appeal to marginalized folks and more about like the numbers, you know, and it's all about the money. Um,
Right.
somebody brought up Power Rangers, exactly. I just described. I just described like a lot of shows that came out in the 90s. Or you got like fucking shows like My Friend Martin. Oh my fucking god. Where I guess it was a movie, not a
Mm.
show. You know what that is, right?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it, but I know of it.
I saw it many a time growing up. It was played. It was an after school special that was played a lot when I was a kid, and I was just like, why? And it wasn't the only one like that. I think there was like a couple, like either I'm trying to remember what ones did it, but they did the I'm gonna go travel back in time to meet Martin Luther King, or I think the Proud Family did an episode
Yep.
where there was an alternate like it was an alternate universe where like the civil rights movement never happened. Oh
Yep.
my god. Yeah. What do you guys think about Fritz the Cat? Oh, Ralph Bashki. Oh boy. What do you
Yeah.
think? I'm not touching this. What do you think about Ralph Bashki and his works?
I think it's intentionally supposed to be that outlandish and
Yeah.
whatnot to get the point across. Because for some people, hyperbole does help make a point.
Yeah. And even outside of like Fritz the Cat and like his other like he had a very it's very clear what kind of culture he was immersed in. But like,
Mhm.
bro, maybe you need to be a little bit like maybe fucking relax a little bit. It reminds me of this choir director that I had. Um, and to be fair, we had a lot of black people in our choir, and like we were
Mhm.
doing a Bob Marley song, and God love him. My fucking the choir director was white as snow. He was a beautiful man inside and out. He was a wonderful soul, and everybody loved him. But when he whipped out the Jamaican accent, I was like, "Simon, what are you doing?" We which is crazy because
Oh,
we literally
no.
had Jamaican people in the choir that he could have asked if he thought that was that important, but it was like, I get that these are the people that you're around and this is the culture that you care about and, like, you're trying to uplift people, but would you fucking chill? Oh god. I always felt Ralph Bakshi was kinda like that, where it's like, "Dude, you gotta calm down."
I thought it's kind of like funny how big and extreme it kind of went. It's like I recently just watched Drawn Together because
Oh
I've been
boy.
slowly exposed to Drawn Together as a series and knew about
Oh
it. I've
god.
never really sat down and watched it. This shit is it's so funny because I feel like they get it. At least for me, Foxy Love is my favorite character. Her jokes, I've
She's
unfortunately
funny.
learned some new stuff that I did not know about what happened to black
Oh,
folks.
beautiful.
Like how we were made into furniture, we were eaten. Picnics are racist technically because that's what pick a
Oh
Negro
god,
and they would go out to
ah.
watch in that. But Foxy is so funny to me because she is meant to be that bundle Hanna-Barbera style character, but a bundle of racist caricatures, but she's also still her own person. But I don't know, as a black person, I love her, and her stereotypes and the jokes they make around her, I think is very fun and really funny. And also kind of just really well done because it could have just been so easy to be like, ha, token black woman, am I right? But no, what makes it funny is because it's such a specific thing within black culture that they're making fun of, and I find that hilarious. That how well researched and well versed you have to be in order to make a joke this smart.
I mean, there was obviously black people in the writers' room. There had to have been.
Oh yeah, and or
I
what
think
Cree Summer might have added. She's so funny.
exactly, exactly. Because Cree Summers had like a lot of opinions about like she was like, why am I always cast for every single role for like a black person in this fucking industry? Like, thanks for giving me work, but Jesus Christ, guys. Um, I think that was her energy for a little while, where it's like oh, this is the like you would see a black character and you'd be like that character's voiced by Cree Summers, and you'd be right, not 90% of the time.
Yeah, she
But
voiced the majority of my childhood. Susie Carmichael, number 5.
mhm.
She was everywhere.
She's great. She's great. She's so talented and she has such like a
Hmm.
unique voice that I think like it really makes characters come alive. So I see why she got cast so much. Um
Hmm.
Drawn Together is interesting in general, I think, because it's like what if these caricatures of people were actually people? Um it's kind of how the show ended up being. Uh Yeah. No, I think Foxy Love was probably my favorite character as well. And I watched Drawn Together as it was coming out. So, uh to be fair, the Black Ranger wanted to be the Black Ranger. He wanted to be the black superhero for kids. That makes sense to me. Um
Mhm.
yeah. Um Now I think we've gotten into like the whole tokenization thing. It is 9:54 for me, so it's 8 o'clock for you.
Mhm.
Was there any other points that you wanted to go over?
How do you feel anytime in this xenofiction and someone mentions how, oh, coding, that's inherently racist? How does
Uh,
that make you feel?
I the I think that at the yeah we didn't end up getting into xenofiction. I totally forgot, but yeah, we can get into that now. With the coding stuff, I think that the issue there is again that people assume that white is the default. Um,
Hmm.
um, I don't remember how to. So here is a movie that I really liked as a kid. Um, Spirit,
Oh,
Down the End of the Sea.
Spirit.
That character is indigenous. This is a native
Oh,
man.
totally.
And what he goes through is he ends up getting taken away from his family, taken away from his home. His hair gets cut off, which is something that happens
Oh,
to native people in, um, you know, in residential
yeah.
schools and other environments like that. I saw a picture of it, but like I can't find it again. Hold
But
on.
even as a kid, I knew like this this horse's struggle. It's so I feel so bad for this horse. It's not fair.
And he's like this is his fucking this is the villain. Like this
A
I
white
know,
man
like
and a hat.
that is literally trying to break him. Um
Wow, that messaging is clear as day, and now I realize it in hindsight.
yeah. And again, I think a lot of different people can relate to spirit in terms of being an oppressed people whose culture was taken away from them. Also, there is
Mhm.
literally like indigenous characters in here. Um
Oh yeah.
but like this is absolutely exploring part of the human I would classify this as xenofiction because it is
Mhm.
exploring an aspect of the human condition that through animals and through their struggles. Another early example that is done with horses is Black Beauty, which that one is a little bit more ambiguous and complicated. Have you ever read Black Beauty?
I've not heard of it.
Okay, so Black Beauty is about a black horse. Um, it's narrated from his perspective. They can't talk to humans. Like they don't have like technology like in some xenofiction. It's just he's just a horse. I'm
Mhm.
getting some interesting I don't want to scroll too far down. There we go. I was like, wait a minute. Uh Anna
Your safe
Sewell.
search is on.
Yeah. So um he gets taken from his mother and sold, and I think his first I don't think he's a racehorse, but I think like he's used to pull carriages and like he's put in these kind of bridles to make him look good, which like brings
Mhm.
like his chin down and his like if you've ever seen horses in it like a very uncomfortable like chin down head up, like that's a restrictive kind of bridle that is can like make the horse's teeth bleed, like they're often sharp so that they don't put themselves in an unwanted position. um he eventually ends up like getting injured and he can't do that anymore, and he just gets passed on from owner to owner to owner to owner. Some of those owners are really great and treat him really well. Some of those
Hmm.
owners like beat him and whip him, and like it's not difficult to take a racial or class perspective from it. You can kind
Mhm.
of go either way. But he's always treated as this piece of property for basically his entire life, um, by the upper class humans around him. Um, and even his kindest masters or owners end up hurting him because they're not his friends, they're his owners until at the end of his life he gets again. Unfortunately, he is it's a horse, right? So he is still technically owned, but
Right.
he's no longer put to work at the end of his life. He's just allowed to kind of like go out to pasture and like just kind of be a horse. Um, so you could take the ending of it like in a few different ways, but like you could kind of like he's finally given some freedom after like a world of like a life of backbreaking labor, and it's only when he gets that freedom that he's finally content and he finally has a taste of freedom. It's
Mhm.
bittersweet again because like he's still like a horse living in England. I think it's England that it's not his world, but it's a complicated book, but it's one that I really liked growing up. And uh started reading it because I read it multiple times as a kid. Because I was a horse kid, surprising nobody. Um, but I kind of it was this book, Huck Finn, White Fang, which is another xenofiction, which has like a lot of themes about being biracial and like colonization, and that kind of started opening up my mind in terms of empathy, and kind of gives you those skills to empathize and understand these really big concepts of like dehumanization and like colonization and like being a part of two different cultures or worlds, without necessarily someone being like, hey, this person is biracial, they are black and white, and like face like a unique experience because of that. Like, I didn't need to be told that to understand that it is terrible to go through life. I mean, like, you know, I'm biracial myself, so there's that aspect
Mhm.
of it. But like, you don't need to be like somebody doesn't need to tell you that that's an awful experience to be of this specific thing. If you get to read a story like this, or like a story like White Fang, or like a story like K-pop Demon Hunters, you can kind of get that empathy and understanding, or feel seen without, you know what I mean? I feel like I feel
Yeah,
like I'm rambling a little bit.
yeah, I can understand that.
Um, and I feel like also White Fang is similar to Black Beauty. I don't know if you're familiar with that one either. It,
No.
yeah, it is one of it. I think it is considered like a big American novel. It's classic literature. The same with, but again, I don't know if Black Beauty's American or British. But uh, White Fang definitely is American. Um, and he is half dog, half wolf. He's a wolf dog. Um, his mother like gave birth to pups. I think he ends up being the only one that survives. Um, and I think that the mother also ends up dying. Um,
Oh.
but he doesn't get accepted by the other wolves, so he goes into one of the little town, or one of the little villages, one of the little indigenous villages, and
Mhm.
kind of starts being taken in as a dog. And then like
Mm.
he he ends up getting, I think it's been a long time since I read White Fang actually, but I believe something happens where he ends up getting taken by like a white guy and brought away from the Yukon, I think is where he was originally living. So that's like
Mhm.
one of the northern territories in Canada. And he gets taken down south where like his is not quite evolved. Like he has like he was a wolf from the Yukon, which is very cold. He's brought to a place that he doesn't really fit in. He's expected to act like a dog, but he isn't a dog. He's more of a wolf than a dog. And in some cases he performs better in terms of like having more energy. He can, if another dog tries to get into a fight with him, like he's an apex predator, like he can fend for himself and the dogs. But he's also like isolated. So like you don't need, that's kind of the story of White Fang. And I forget how it's ended because I think I was still in middle school the last time I read it. But you know what I mean? Like it's like these kind of things, these kind of struggles are
Yeah.
are kind of universally relatable. Like I think even to some extent, even like white people can relate to a character like White Fang, because I think everybody kind of experiences a certain amount of isolation and feeling like they don't fit in.
As humans, we are social creatures. We want to feel like we're part of the pack. We want to feel
Mhm.
included in that. Whether our own little quirks make that hard, whether it be like a disability or your race, your ethnicity, a language barrier, and what have you, that can be more of that can pose as a challenge. So seeing
Mhm.
stories where someone can overcome that, that is very like inspirational. And the story of like White Fang, what you were telling me, kind of reminds me of like Tarzan,
Mhm.
where human adopted into gorillas, loved by the gorillas, but gorilla dad does not accept him. and trying
Mhm.
to get his approval and everything. Like, yeah, it's a universal message of just wanting to be accepted and acknowledged.
Somebody said that it ends with him finding a nicer owner and having puppies with a dog. Yes.
Aw,
Unfortunately, it
nice.
does. There's kind of like a. I think one of the puppies ends up being a lot like White Fang, and it's like, hey, like that part of me never is never going to die. Sort of message of a messaging. And again, White Fang doesn't
Mhm.
talk. Like he's not like a person level intelligence. He's just a wolf. Um, so there's kind of two different kinds of xenofiction where you get like, oh, this is literally just a dog or a horse, but then you get stuff like Rats of Nim kind of borders on like the in between, but then you've got like Redwall, which is like they are it's just like a little kingdoms of mice, like literal castles and shit. Um, but
Mhm.
I think like Rats of Nim and Watership Down kind of border on the in between where and I have actually not ever read it, Warrior Cats, where they have like spiritualities and culture that obviously real cats and rats and rabbits don't have. But they're still like living alongside humans and they don't have any developed technology. um I think if you get to the point where, like, I would say Zootopia is not xenofiction because they're only like rabbits and foxes and such. Like, they're not. It's complicated. Their
It's kind
society
of
is
more.
indistinguishable from humans. It's just it's
It
it's something
would
different.
B Star be more in that category then?
I haven't seen Beastars. Hold on.
It's like
Wait.
Zootopia, but like they actually
Oh
take in
yes.
consideration that predators might actually eat you by accident.
Yeah, I get, yeah, no, I am familiar with Beastars. I would say, yeah, Beastars is not xenofiction. It's just anthropomorphic animals. I think for it to be xenofiction, it's like they are basically just they're either like basically just animals, or if you look at something like the Guardians of Gahul, they're
Hmm.
um they are owls, but like they're more evolved owls. They're evolving it like they don't because these guys look indistinguishable. Like if they didn't have heads, animal heads, and they didn't have fur, they would just be people. But in like Guardians of Cool, like all their weapons are designed around them being birds. Like their society is built around them being birds, and like that's a part of
Can they
it. You
communicate?
know. In Guardians of Gahul, yes, they can. And like what's some other examples of that kind of? I guess Silverwing is another example of that where they are like human level intelligent, but they're still filling the role of bats in their world, and they still live like bats. I think
Oh.
I think when you get to the point when they're standing on 2 feet and they are indistinguishable from humans, I don't think it's xenofiction anymore. And somebody mentioned Tobias from um Animorphs. I don't that no, because xenofiction is a genre. It's not like a character. Like so I would say
Mhm.
while it's doing similar things as xenofiction often does, I don't think Tobias from Animorphs counts. Yeah, in Gahul, they're still owls physically, and the snakes are snakes, and they go hunting, and yeah, exactly. It's just elevated. Plague dogs.
Ah,
I'm not familiar with
okay.
plague dogs. Plague dogs. Ah, I've never actually seen plague dogs, but I've heard of it, and it's on. Have I seen it? Yes, this is xenofiction. Fox and the Hound is also xenofiction.
Oh, I love the Fox and the Hound.
The book, I've been meaning to read the book, but I've heard the book is nothing like it, which is interesting.
Oh, I can
Um,
imagine.
yeah, there's different cultures in Gahul, and like there's one of the main struggles, and I don't know how familiar you are with this series, but like they get taken as chicks and brought to a school where they're brainwashed, um,
Mm.
and forced to become child soldiers. So that could be a metaphor for a lot of different things. Uh,
Na nationalism.
yeah, yeah, like you could. Ooh, I see. Richard Adams. Richard Adams is an interesting fellow. He's English. Okay. Yes, he did. Watership Down was his. Yes, yes. So he did Watership Down and Flag Dogs. But in any case, yeah. They're not calling it xenofiction here, but like if you like slip down the xenofiction pipeline, you'll be like, where the fuck am I? Why is this like a whole thing? Why are so many people talking about it? Why are there so many papers written about it? Um, but he's mostly done. It's also sometimes called naturalism, but naturalism is specifically like the kind of fiction where it's like they are just rabbits or they are just dogs. So like Watership Down rather than Guardians of the Wool.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, that's mostly what he did was naturalism. But
mhm.
people, I think xenofiction is usually a word that I hear people use in these spaces. Does Animal Farm count as xenofiction in your opinion? I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. um, Animal Farm's kind of a fable, though I would say. But let's not nitpick. Let's not nitpick genres today. My point is more that with xenofiction is that it gives you like an elevated glimpse at things like oppression and struggles with identity and a sense of self, um, while keeping the characters universally appealing. And I think that can be a very powerful way to tell stories, especially to younger audiences. Um, so,
Mhm,
aside from the xenofiction, though, I think that I'm gonna scroll up and see if there's anything else that I had listed that I wanted to talk about. Because I think it wasn't in DMs. I think it was over here that I mentioned. Um, yes, I think the three main things that I wanted to talk about was tokenization, the universal appeal of xenofiction, and why relatable experiences are more important than surface level representation. Those are my three main topics. I think I've represented them well. What would you say that the three things that you kind of want to like bring attention to in the discussion? Unless you have something else that you would like to pivot to before we get to the um, answering questions part of the stream.
I think that's everything that we've been talking about and what has been brought up through the conversation. I'm pretty satisfied of what I've uh, of where I am.
Yeah. Did you want to like kind of list off like the things that you thought were really important topics to your side of it?
Just that while I do agree that relatable experiences are important, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like seeing that relatable experience attached to a certain minority or like representation is just as important.
Mm-hmm.
Because like also recently watched this movie called The Blackening, where
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like a parody on the nose movie about it's an all black cast about like these bunch of black folks at a cabin. It's kind of kind of taking it, yeah, that taking the piss
uh,
out of like the horror trope of like black people dying first, but there's like an actual like story behind it and everything. And I don't want to give away the twist because it genuinely did surprise me. I think it's definitely worth watching, and it's something that it is an experience, but it's like very much a black experience thing to go through.
I'll definitely watch it. Um, my favorite I love horror fans that are people of color because it's like I like the joke is like, you know why the reason you never see black people or Latino people or like this kind of person here? It's because we would have been gone. It's like, yep,
Yeah, because
you
we
hear a
don't do
weird
this
noise
shit.
in the woods. Yep, nope, nope. That's why Nope is called Nope. It's because nope,
Nope.
I'm not fucking around. Bye. You wouldn't
Right.
have a movie. That's my favorite response to that kind of shit, but I'm also, like, very excited to watch this. Um
Oh, it's really funny. It's literally based on this like old like comedy sketch that
mhm,
is like a few minutes long. I recommend watching that first and then the movie, where they're like,
mhm.
"All right, I'm gonna spare all of you. I just need one of you to send out the blackest of you, so and then the rest of you can go." And then they
I've
all
seen
started turning on each other, of
I've seen
arguing
the
who's the
comedy.
blackest.
I've seen the short, I think, that sounds familiar. Um,
Oh, it's
semi
good. It's so good.
Semi-related, I don't know what your feelings I have some mixed feelings about it as well because there was some interesting representation in terms of indigenous and intersex people, but, Lovecraft County Country? Did you see that one?
I've seen, like, up to it. I didn't get a chance to finish it, but I've seen about half of it. I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, because he's
Hmm.
reclaiming this, like, Lovecraft was racist as fuck, and they don't shy away from that, but what I have found interesting in it is that, like, the horrifying part wasn't, like, the monsters, it was the fucking racist white people. Um, so I thought that was
Mhm.
an interesting perspective. I don't know. I find it really interesting when like people of color explore things that they've been left out on, and that's not just like we're just gonna take this and we're gonna make it look like us now. We're going to talk about its effect on our community and like why we've been kept out. And I find that I really love those kind of stories.
That's what
But anyway,
I love Get Out so much because it's
mm,
I that's my favorite thing of like black horror or like a black thriller. The scariest thing to a black person isn't like being haunted by a ghost or like The Conjuring or Spirit Eldred, a slasher. Nah, man, it's just racism.
yeah. Um, and the thing now to kind of wrap this all up. The great thing about this show is that like we're not actually trying to dismantle the other person's argument. Not really. This isn't a
Mhm.
either or, this is an and. So like yes, sometimes having an empathetic character means a lot more than skin deep representation and it's really important to have characters that look like the kind of people that are watching your show. It's important for us to see each other, for us to see ourselves and to see one another. And if I may, I think one of the most important right now aspects of representation um, goes hand in hand with this discussion of does fiction affect reality? And in my opinion, it does insofar as representation and education give us something else to look at besides propaganda. If all you ever see of Black people because they're kept away from your community are like gangsters on TV that are just scary and hurting white people, that's going to be your only exposure to Black people. And
Mhm.
sometimes that can even be the only exposure Black people get to who they could be. But if you start to see positive representation on the screen, you have an alternative of like, hey, obviously, like Black people are like this. They can be any kind of person. or gay people can be any kind of person. They're not just the kind of scary, creepy guy that I saw in the weird after school fucking special in the 60s. Like, there's different kinds of gay people and they're not all trying to hurt me, or there's different kinds of trans people. They're not trying to hurt anybody. It's like we're all just people at the end of the day. And you get the more representation there is, the more that you can provide empathy and having yourself seen, I think. But if I think if all that you're seeing is negative representation, because I do think that that's a thing. I do think negative representation is a thing. I don't
Mhm.
I I don't think that's gonna help anybody. Um, but any closing thoughts before we get to the question part of the stream?
Uh, expand your mind. Highly
Exactly.
recommend Craig of the Creek. I know
Hmm.
it's like it's over by now. I think it was about 5, 6 seasons in a movie.
Hmm.
Great melting pot of diversity because it was made by and for a just a hodgepodge of different people, and I myself have learned so much about different cultures just through watching it. It's not just like from black representation, but also like Latino households, different Asian households, Filipino as well. Just another great example of just melting pots.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen that one. I haven't. I've been watching less and less like kids shows. Wow, a man in his 30s doesn't watch a whole lot of kids shows. Whoa, that's surprising, shocking. But I might give it a watch. I have been keeping half an eye on it. Um, yeah, I think we'll tie up the discussion part. Like I said, there is no winner here. The whole point is to understand where other people are coming from, have a nuanced view of it, and to uh, get your own, come to your own conclusions. But if you have any questions, audience, now is the time to send it in. So I'm gonna look at some of the questions we have right now. What if the scary
Hmm.
monster slash at slash uh what if the scary monster slash slasher, thanks for that, is an allegory for racism? Um I mean, they've done that a few times, I feel. Like I feel like some of Jordan Peele's horror movies are doing that. I feel like Lovecraft, we mentioned Lovecraft Country.
Hmm.
Um there's Rhymes for Young Ghouls. Um kind of does that sort of. Um yeah, I think I think that has happened, and I tend to like those stories. I don't know if you could just I don't know if you could say that. Definitely not the original. Candyman's complicated, I think.
I know I've been meaning to watch Candyman, but how it was described to me is like he is a black slasher, and because of what happened to him in life, he targets like white people,
Hmm.
which I kind of just think I get a kind of morbid like satisfaction out of it.
Yeah, it's like a revenge thing, I think.
Yeah, it's like, of course, I don't want someone actually going out slashing a bunch of white people, but like, this is in a realm of fiction. It's just kind of, yeah,
Well,
I can watch this and be comfortable.
it's it's kind of like Jason in that, like, you don't actually want somebody killing a bunch of like people that are neglecting children, but you're kind of like fucking get them. And I
Yeah.
think that like
If they had it coming, that's the big important thing, though.
and obviously in fiction, like it's not
Yeah,
gonna.
yeah.
Yeah, I think if you watch Candyman or Halloween or whatever, or Friday the 13th or any of those, I don't think it's gonna turn you into a killer. Don't worry. Um, do you guys think we need more asexual rep in media? Oh boy. Oh boy, do I
Oh,
have opinions on
yes.
this. I have so many opinions on this one. You go first.
Um, I am panromantic asexual, so I would love to see definitely more asexual representation, aside from the one-offs of, like, "Oh, they're so selfish and they don't care about anyone, and that's why they're not with anybody," kinda thing is just so played out and mundane. Like, there's other like, because asexuality is a spectrum in it of itself too, so just wanna
Yeah.
see a bit more variety done with an ace character.
I mean, I'm arrow ace as well. Probably on the gray spectrum. I like I'm kind of like a big like I don't really know at this point. If I date somebody again, I'm not looking for it. I don't want to. If it happened again organically, maybe I would, but I don't really see that in my future and it's not something that I care about particularly.
Mhm,
And when I'm like, hey, that character's hot, it's only in theory. If they were standing right in front of me, I would get a headache and wanna want to go to bed early. Um, so asexual representation. As somebody that is arrow ace, I find romantic relationships fascinating because I want to study you like a bug. And I can do that with fictional characters. Um,
mhm.
I tend to I tended to lean a lot towards gay characters, especially when I was younger. But I'm finding for me a lot of it is like I just like characters that break modern convention. So I like um male female pairings as well, but I don't want them to be like, oh, we're gonna get married and have 2.5 kids and a dog and like I don't fucking want to read about that. Um,
Mhm.
some of my favorite like pairings you could say are like it's like a character like well I was talking about Evangelion earlier. It's like a character like Karu Nagisa from Evangelion who is clearly intended to be gay. I don't understand why we're still having this discussion, but he's also kind of this otherworldly, eldritch, unknowable creature. But he's also a gay teenage boy. He's both. And the way that he expresses love and the way he chooses to express love, like it's very human. At the end of the day, he dies because he dies like a human would die, because he chooses to love Shinji in a human way, not as like some otherworldly, unknowing creature, but as like the human boy Karu. And I think that's really important. And I don't think Evangelion would be the same without it. I don't think it's the only thing about Evangelion that's important. I don't think it's the end all be all. And I don't, there's a bunch of secondary media for Evangelion where you have multiple paths and you can date multiple characters in the main cast, and Kaoru is always included in the cast of characters that Shinji can end up with as a romantic option. Like, so it's always been the case that Shinji is bisexual and Kaoru is gay, and I want to study them like insects under a glass because I find their relationship so fascinating. I think partially because I don't feel those things, and it's weird and strange and different to me to the idea of loving someone that much. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
I do like asexual characters, but you can a lot of the characters that I like that are like this, you could argue that Kaoru is asexual or aromantic in some way because of what he is. He's not really human, and it's not like a biological need that he has to, you know what I mean? There's no urge there. It's something that he decides to do, just like perhaps an asexual would decide, I love this person and care about them so much, and I'm going to, you know what I mean? I think that kind of a character, it feels more relatable to me than a person that's like, I'm asexual and I'm wearing the flag and I've got the nails painted in the colors. Don't talk to me. I don't date anyone. But also, I love Junko from Archie, so who is canonically asexual and has been,
Mm,
I think, since the 80s.
mhm.
Anyway, but they took that away from us in Riverdale, so like, fuck you guys, fuck you CW. I hate you. All my homies hate CW. Um, and I don't think it's hurting anybody for, like, fans to ship, um not to go back to Has Been Hotel, but I don't think it's hurting people for fans to ship,
Alistair?
Alistair with anybody. I don't think it's hurting asexual people. Like, they're gonna be fine. I think that
Yeah,
nobody's getting hurt.
becau
We need to calm down.
I think people keep forgetting that just because someone is asexual or even aromantic, they forget that it's also a spectrum and that they can still date or have sex if they want to. It's just their desire to do it is not as high as that as the average person.
Or it's based on a different you're fulfilling a different kind of desire, because there are people that are ace that enjoy sex, but they night and romance, but maybe not for the reasons that other people would. Like,
Oh yeah.
like anyway, like maybe as like an act of service, or it's like I care about this person so much, I want to give them what they want, and it makes me happy giving them what they want, even if I don't necessarily want it myself. Just like it's not, if you take your girlfriend to monster trucking and she does not give a shit about monster trucking, but she really wants to go because you love monster trucking and you get so happy when you're at a monster truck rally and she's having a good time, you are not mistreating your girlfriend taking her to a monster truck rally. And that's kind
Mm.
of how I like to explain why an asexual slash aromantic slash both might do those things for somebody. It's There are loveless ace and arrow people, of course, but I don't know. I think it's
Think it's like
yeah.
relationships can be complicated and it's not always a black and white give and take. It's about compromises.
Yeah, ace people aren't gonna spontaneously combust if you ship an ace character with someone else. I promise you, it will be fine. At the end of the day,
Mhm.
Alistair's fictional. He can't be subjected to the normativity or pressured into sex, etc. Ship away. Has anyone seen the summer Hikaru died? Fucking yes. That's a perfect example. Have you seen it, Art, or
I
read
have
it, or
heard of it, but I've heard good things. Nothing but good things.
should I avoid spoilers then?
You can spoil it. I don't care.
Um, so the one summer Hikaru dies. Spoilers.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've
and
heard.
this happens at the very beginning, and his body is taken over by a supernatural entity that is pretending to be Hikaru. And this
Mm,
supernatural entity falls in love, sort of, kind of. It becomes very affectionate with Hikaru's best friend Yoshiki, and in the year that follows, grows closer to Yoshiki than the real Hikaru ever did. But Yoshiki knows it's not Hikaru. He pretends for a while, and it's revealed that he was in love with Hikaru, but Hikaru did not feel the same way about him, really. Um, Ultimately, it is absolutely supposed to be read as romantic and sexual. Like it's like if you've read it, if you've watched the anime, it's very clear. Um, but the entity can't really love Yoshiki in the way that a human would. Um,
mm,
but it still cares about Yoshiki so much that it wants to interact with him in the way that two humans would interact in that way. And you've got the allegories and the
it-
metaphors are insane and so on the nose. There's like a couple scenes where, like, so basically Hikaru can kind of open himself up. Like he's got like the new Hikaru, like they just call him the other Hikaru. He can create
mhm,
slits along his body, open them up, and like that's like inside there's like a bunch of like spiritual goopy. It's very Princess Mononoke. Um,
mm,
and there are multiple scenes of Yoshiki putting his hand inside of Hikaru, usually his chest or belly, and like the deeper he goes, the better it feels for both of them. And the freaking creators like, no, yeah, it was absolutely they were having sex. That's actually absolutely what was happening. So,
oh
um,
wow.
yeah, like they're not literally having sex, but that is the feeling that they're experiencing. It's like this intense pleasure. There is like penetration. It's very like in the anime. There's like all these wet slick sounds. Very it's very on the nose. They are not pulling any punches. I watched it with a friend and he was like, I feel like it was kind of ambiguous. And I look at him and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean ambiguous? This is how do you look at this and deny that these two kids are like in love in their own weird little way? Yeah, the old Hikaru was straight. The creature says it's not the same as the old one. Yeah, exactly. Um, but the raw
Huh.
chicken. Yeah, he compares it to raw chicken. Yoshiki does.
So it was basically a kid. So it's basically a guy's friend that passed away is being taken over by another spiritual entity, and it's
Yeah,
like the guy had feelings for the other guy before he passed,
but the guy was
and now
straight.
it's the guy was. This feels kind of icky.
It
I mean, I'm
is.
sure. I'm sure it's like portrayed
It's
as romantic, but like the way it's just described. So
it's
he's just kind of getting with the body and not the person. Then
oh, they explore that. They explore that a lot as well because there's a lot.
it's
Yeah, it's
like
it's
getting it
really
on with your
interesting.
friend's corpse.
Well, and he's constantly like, "You're not Hikaru. This is wrong. Like, I can't do this." It's like, well, I am me now. And again, like, there's like a lot of metaphors and allegories going on. You also have to remember that the way that homophobia works in Japan is different than it works in the West.
Ah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so there's I feel like a lot of the the gays are coming for your kids and they're gonna corrupt them and they're gonna grow up to be these awful terrible people, whereas like homophobia in Japan um works more as in like you can do whatever you want as a kid, but when you grow up you have to fall in line, you have to do your duty, you have to like get married and have kids, like don't like be that's nonsense, like you can't like don't do that when you're older, where it's like I don't know if it's tolerated, but it's definitely not like from what I've experienced and from my research it's not a panic in the way that it is in the States. It's more of like a you're failing to do your duty, you're not falling in
Hmm.
line, rather than like gay people are corrupting and ruining everything. And I think that's part of why um there's a lot of gay representation in anime and why it's not like,
Hmm.
oh no, we've got to censor this. Like there was definitely some of that a little bit sort of um in like the 90s and the 80s, but I think I just think that it's like a different discussion. And I think that the Summer Hikaru dies is very Japanese um
Hmm.
in that way. So I think it's important to like keep in mind all of that and the age that they are, and like I don't know, it was very interesting. Like yes, it's icky and it's intentionally like it's not backing away from the ick. It's very much like looks it in the face and like is interrogating all the grossness of the relationship between the creature and Yoshiki. Um
Okay.
so I have read the light novel, but I've heard it's better than the anime. So I need to get on that. It
Hmm.
is a horror anime as well. Yeah, it's also something to point out. It's more like it's not really like a boys love. It's more like a horror anime that happens to have boys love in it. Um I
Ah.
suppose.
Hmm.
Uh, anyway, Yoshiki feels trapped in a small town with everyone gossiping and everyone knows and judges each other. That's also part of it. Like Yoshiki wants to leave and go to the big city. He lives in a rural neighborhood and yeah. Homophobia
Right.
manifesting in a more collective culture compared to the more individualist Western culture. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that
Uh,
makes sense.
Looking at other questions that have been asked, scrolling through the chat. Feel free to ask me and or Artise or both of us any questions related to this topic, or if you have something you want to bring up. Somebody brought up something called Tail Chaser's Song.
I don't know what that is.
No, I don't know either. 1985. Oh, it's one of, I think it's Key Cat. And this just looks like warrior cats.
Oh, let's say,
Before.
yeah.
It's American writer Tad Williams. Story focused on a personified cat named Fritty, tail chaser, set in a world with other anthropomorphic animals who live in their natural environments, but each have their own language, mythology, and culture. Ooh, interesting. I have to read that. Somebody's bringing up Earthsea. Is that? I mean, like, no, I've seen the movie, but is that relevant to representation? I'm wondering. What is like the themes here? Oh, right, because they do. Yes, because they fold in a lot of different like world religions. I could see how that would be relevant. Yeah. I can't speak on Earthsea because I'm not super familiar with it. Warrior
Yeah,
Cats
I
is
can't.
new fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Somebody asked.
I was
Sorry, I
gonna
didn't
say
mean
I
to.
can't speak on like that Cersei either.
Yeah. Yeah, you should. You're more like what are some of the things you're more like familiar with like animation that's kind of the focus of your channel as far as I understand, right?
Yeah, I'm also trying to like branch out to talk about other media I'm also passionate
Mm,
about because I contrary to popular belief, I do watch animation, whether it's for adults and or target general audience, but also like there's some stuff live action that I also do enjoy as well. It's just
yeah.
I don't know, man. Like animation, a lot cooler, and the stuff you can do in animations really limitless. Like the human creativity is really cool. Meanwhile, like live action, there are some cool things you can do in stunts. And the empath in me just worry about, oh, that was a really cool stunt. Oh, I hope no one got hurt during production. Stunt
Yeah.
doubles die.
Yeah. Yeah, or like they get really badly injured and have you seen like x-rays of like stunt people's
Mm-hmm.
it's X-ray. Let's get a little crazy. Yeah. Look at all that metal.
Oh my
Like more
gosh.
metal than man. Jesus. That's not. We're tapping out.
Oh no 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 no!
Anyway, I'll give just like a couple more minutes to for people to ask questions, and then I think we might wrap it up for the night.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, any is there any shows or movies or books or anything that is coming out that you're excited for that you think would have good representation?
There's one coming out with Zaza Beats or Zazie Beats. Uh, they will kill you or they kill all of you. It's a horror movie. I don't know if you heard of it. Let me see if I can find the actual title. Oh,
Yeah,
it's called
yeah.
They Will Kill You. I saw the trailer and I recognize the actress because she played Domino in the second Deadpool movie.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit! I'm so happy to see her in a leading role where she's just whacking off all these cult leader cultists before they try to like sacrifice her is
Mhm.
so cool. And even more so seeing like a black woman like doing it, that's so cool to me. So badass.
Poppy War. I'm not familiar with that one. Somebody brought it up. Okay, so it's like a Chinese fantasy written by an actual Chinese person. That's always nice.
Nice.
I'm glad that we're normalizing like reading books from other cultures. Um, feels good. You definitely aren't going to suffer because there's more options for you to read. Read more books.
Hmm.
Yippee! Not exactly a question, but idea is something that I think is getting addressed in a really reductive way over the last few days in regards to representation. Yes, what's up, Anne Marie? What is going on?
Hmm.
She's just asking in the chat. She hasn't actually said what she wants to say, so I'm just gonna give her a second to finish typing.
Okay. I also recommend more people to watch Sinners. I know this was a it came out last year, but oh, such a good movie. Especially the scene where the tie-in of the music and the ancestors. When I say representation, I'm talking about Sinners, made for us, by us, with us in mind. We're seeing all the different music genre, like from the rap, hip hop, the dancing, the African beats, the break dancing and the twerking and the ballet, just showing how much like black music and black culture just expands when it comes to just an artistry as music. It was so beautiful. It was awesome.
I have it is definitely on my list. I have been rewatching some old favorites. I just got finished rewatching Elementary, um,
Hmm.
which I think is probably the best modern adaptation of Sherlock Holmes. Um, Lucy Liu as Joan Watson, like I think that's the best iteration of that character I've seen on screen.
Nice.
We're not doing an open call for this stream. Um, just like it's not really the format for this one. But if there's if it's you know it's more of like a question and yeah if you have if there if it is if you could kind of give us the topic and I feel like me and Artiste can kind of our brains are wrinkly enough that we could probably speak to it on an intelligent level, you know.
Hmm.
You ever like do like what are some movies that I watched with good representation? And it's like I've never watched a film or television show ever. like it's like when people are like, "What's your
Brain
favorite
just goes
song?"
blank.
What's your favorite song? It's like I've never listened to music in my life. I just listen to anything. Um, so there's also the trope of people of color noping out of horror. The Native American hunters left the second the vampire got to the white couple. Yeah, yeah, we're not. Nope, that's good. We're good
Oh.
actually. That's yeah. Um, that is my favorite trope. I hate that people get left out of a genre so often, but I think that's a funny way to spin it. Ugh.
Oh, how do you feel about when like Sonic characters, now I'm thinking about it, got more
Good.
like in some cases projection or just head cannons?
I think that's great. Also, they whitewash Rouge the Bat, and it makes me really angry.
Yep. They whitewashed her,
I
they took out her cleavage. She's supposed to be the sexy femme fatale. She can't really be that without, her bust.
like, who the fuck is this? Like, I get it on some level, but why did you have to make what? Why did you have to fucking lighten her skin tone? Why did you do that? Why did you make? I mean, like, I didn't even really think about it before. I didn't really think about Rouge Bat and what her race was, but it,
I've
definitely.
seen Latina, Afro Latina. I accept the Latina headcanon.
But like this, you definitely whitewashed my poor girl.
Hmm.
As somebody who was like a really big fan of Sonic Adventures, too, you're this hurted me. What are you doing? Who is this? Anyway, I like Rouge. I think she's pretty cool. I
I like
like how
Rouge.
that like
Blaze
she's
is.
kind of introduces like this femme fatale, this kind of like I'm this sexy villain that's like let's like flirting, but she's actually like working as a super spy uh to infiltrate Eggman. I thought was a fun little
Hmm.
twist on the trope.
Oh
She was
yeah.
just she was on their side the entire time. I thought that was pretty funny. Also mullet representation. We love that. Why did they lighten her skin? Oh, I don't understand. But like they've tried to like cover her titties before, like oh, it's fine. Gross. But also like boobs aren't gonna hurt you. I guess this isn't
Right.
really hiding them. They're just it's just those are pretty accentuated. Never mind. Um, in fact, the top of her boobs is the only skin showing other than her face. So fascinating.
It's like up next to her muzzle.
Oh, and then this was from Sonic Riders, I think. I don't know if this is
Oh,
canon
I
though.
love that outfit for her. It's so cool.
I don't know if it's Oh, wait, maybe it's canon.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it
She
looks like
also
this is
wears
canon.
that in like the Sonic Mario Olympic games.
Yeah, but then again, it's another lightened her skin. All right, so there's a character
Mm.
that Greg Rucka introduced in his miniseries Cheshire and Cheetah Rob the Justice League called Featherweight. She's the granddaughter of Raish and becomes super strong when she gets angry. She uses the power to fight against police brutality and fascism. In the very last issue they just released, she was officially confirmed to be trans after some. Oh my god. Oh. Okay. This is what I was talking about with negative representation, which can be
Mhm.
bad. Because there's like a sort of like a double-edged sword here. Now, what's the character's name? Featherweights. Oh, oh, she's cute. I mean, that is a very trans girl coded character. Um, but interesting
Oh.
that that's what her powers were. I, on one hand, like we need negative representation can be harmful and stereotypes can be harmful, but on the other hand, we brought up Candyman earlier. You need to let like people of color and queer people also be messy and violent sometimes. Like we shouldn't have to. We should be able to see like white people get like their Freddys and their Jasons and shit. So like is it really so bad that black people might want candy cane, Candyman, or like it doesn't say anything. It doesn't say anything more negative about us than their white counterparts or their straight counterparts.
I
Um,
hate the idea that some people think that
rather
people of color or black people can't be the villain because it's inherently negative or bad. I'm like, no, I want to see a black villain.
Also rather stereotypical costume of pastel kawaii 20 something, which I don't love the costume, but I think the character has a solid idea to go in a more positive direction. Yeah, I mean that's like another thing that bothers me about trans representation. I find that the way that a lot of trans girls get portrayed, or like when somebody thinks of like a stereo, it's very childish, and it's like trans. Like, you can be a woman too. Like you don't have to be a girl. You can be a trans woman. And I think that like trans
Mhm.
people are almost like pushed into being childish because being a man or being a woman, it feels like it takes up too much space. I've been through this, and I'm sure a lot of other trans men have, where you don't want to be called a trans man. And I know trans women that don't want to be called a trans woman. I'm a trans boy or I'm a trans girl. And it's like, you're in your 30s. You are a grown ass
Mm.
woman slash man. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not hurting anybody. It's not bad to be a woman or a man. And I'm, like, gender identity, complicated, choose your own adventure, use whatever word you want you use that makes you feel good. But if you're like calling yourself a girl or a boy because you don't want to take up space, you need to do some soul searching and like realize that it's okay to be an adult human being with your own desires and your own autonomy, and just being that isn't hurting anybody.
Mhm.
I think the bigger problem is that she's white as snow when her mother is Chinese Arab and her father. Well, that's like a whole problem with the Al Ghouls in general. Like, we were talking about Damian Wayne earlier. Like, fucking, what do you mean Damian Wayne has like light skin and blue eyes and black hair? What do you mean he looks exactly like every other Robin and Batman? And like what are you talking about? I think it's, yeah. I don't know. Because I can almost see this girl being written in the writer and like, let's make her trans, yippee! Because trans girls, like, we're putting trans people in things now. She's racious, like, she gets, when she gets angry, she gets super strong. We
Mm.
can't make her brown though because that might be yeah,
Intersectionality? Nah.
yeah. I'm getting sent the yeah. I think and I think like this is a great example of why I don't really lose sleep over representation for the most part. I think like once we've gotten a seat at the table, I think that like I don't want people to put like a trans or a black or a queer or a whatever character there just for the sake of it being there. You know what I mean? Because it starts to get disingenuous, and it feels like this character might be one of those.
Yeah.
Anne Marie, you weren't here earlier, but we were talking about, well, we brought up the Green Lantern Corps and things like the Young Avengers, and how like every like 5 or 10 years there's like, this is the new generation of superheroes, and then in like a year or two all of those characters get left on the cutting room floor and we go back to Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman and like Wolverine and Deadpool and Spider-Man and all those characters that we've been orbiting around like for the past 100 years. Like, being
Mhm.
sent. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I don't like this. This is, huh? I don't. So she's at, like, this is like giving Black Lives Matter protest. White, okay. Uh, this is a mess, and I don't think there was any graceful way. You know what? There was a graceful way for, and yeah, that movie was called Superman, and it came out last year, and it was really good. Superman
Mm.
handled these kind of topical politics that are racially charged really well. Um, that's not what's happening here, and they've made up a new slogan: "People power." It's giving all lives matter. I hate this. Why did you make me be aware of this, Anna Marie? Oh boy. I don't even know what to say.
Mm. I'm at a loss for words, honestly.
I appreciate that they were, it's no, I can't even say I appreciate where they're coming from. This is a mess.
There
Uh,
was an attempt, that I can say.
Ah, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna look at that anymore. It's giving new warriors from Marvel because they do this every time they have new warriors. They did the new Avengers. There was the same thing. It's like, look at all of our characters. They're like they're diverse now. The this one's a Jew and this one's black and this one's bisexual and like this one's gay. Whoa! Like we got them all. It's like fucking collector cards. And I feel like the superhero genre is the worst for it. Uh. Anyway, yeah, I didn't like that. Thank you for giving me brainworms.
Is
I think we could
there any other
probably,
questions?
yeah. Dead air, dead air, dead air. Whoopee. All right, I think we're gonna wrap the stream up then. Thank you for the questions and discussions. Do you have anything you'd like to plug, Artis? Any projects that you're working on that you would like to tell the viewers?
Well, aside from the Has Been Hotel season 2 review, I I wasn't able to do like weekly reviews because those give me mad anxiety, but I
Mm-hmm.
did like review each episode week by week as it was coming out. So
Mm-hmm.
my perspective kind of like changed and morphed over the whole review, so that's gonna be fun. I also started kind of like a new video series. I haven't released it just yet, but I will say it is kind of relatable. Uh, and it's purely based on vibes. The blackest episodes that I can
Oh.
find of a given series. Like, so far I've done American Dad, We Bare Bears. I'm gonna go to Drawn Together eventually, and the thumbnails for that look very interesting.
Yeah, I've seen you posting about them. I am definitely. I haven't watched any. Have you? You posted like two of them already. I haven't watched them yet, but they
I
are
posted
on
two.
my list.
Yep, I posted two right now for my Kofi supporters. Those are out now for Kofi supporters, and a short of my this was free on my Kofi. A short of like what I have edited so far of like just a snippet of like what I've edited so far during the Has Been review, and I thought, this is funny. Let me share this to show my progress.
Awesome. Yeah. So Artiste, her channel is linked in the description and down below. So please go subscribe to her if you have not already. But I've been kind of nudging people towards your channel for a few months, so I feel like they've already heard you. But please make sure you subscribe to her, and make sure you
I
subscribe to me,
appreciate
and make sure you like the video, folks. Um, and I'm working on a new video myself. It's
it.
about it's actually I'm thinking a lot about representation and such myself right now, which is part of the reason why I did this episode of the hot seat. But my next edited video is going to be about I'm smashing two of my main loves together. Uh, Greek philosophy and shipping culture. And we're going to be talking about
Ooh.
the misconceptions of platonic love. And what you think of as platonic love is not is not the kind of love that Plato, who the term is named after, was originally talking about when he did his review of the Iliad, which is where we get the idea of platonic love, is from uh, Plato's reading on the Iliad. So that's we're gonna be going in a lot of interesting places, but that's my next video. It's gonna be another big boy like my last video. And I will of
Cool.
course be streaming more this year. Um, for those of you that have stayed, I'll give you a teaser on a project that I'm going to be working on throughout the year. And it'll probably take me more than a year. I'm going to be doing art streams where I'm going to be drawing every single Pokemon, all of them, all
Yay.
over 1,000, and I'm going to be doing their alternative forms. So that's like, I think we're going to start that on Thursday. So if you would like to watch me draw And if you like Pokemon, make sure you join us. Uh, Anything else you'd like to say, Art, before we hop off?
I just want to say thank you so much, Crimson, for inviting me or like having me on. I always love being able to interact with you and have these like discussions and sessions because I feel like I learn so much from you and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I absolutely feel like I learn a lot from you, and I feel I like that we're coming from two different perspectives, but we're also open minded to each other. I think it's really important to approach those kind of discussions rather than like I have an opinion and I'm going to win this debate. I think
Hmm.
I think being open minded, you learn a lot more. Krim is a
Oh yes.
masochist. No, because of the Pokemon. Sorry, I like tossed that thought out. It's like my ADHD brain was like, I'm done with that thought. Totally forgot that I was yeah. No, it'll be fine. It'll be something a project that I can work on, um, and come back to for a while because there's a lot of Pokemon and they might even release a new generation before I get finished, adding another couple hundred. But it's gonna be great. Um, and I think you could support Artis on Ko-Fi. It's linked in your channel, right? In your channel description, I believe.
Yep, and to that link it follows Ko-Fi Discord members, which Krim is a part of. I try my
Yay.
best to keep things active in there. We're actually going to be having a VC night tonight where we just talk and hang and discuss and whatnot every Monday. Um, yeah,
All
and
right.
we're updates, sneak previews of videos that I'm working on and thumbnails that I'm working on. It's really good time.
All right. Perfect. And I'm gonna be heading off for the night. So I will see you guys all later. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna do my little uh hold on a second. I lost my thingy. There we go. Thank you to my patrons, Paige, Lego, Harvey, Hummus, Mohammed, Weeskilly, Fiona, Boggle, Space Frog, Somnium, Astra, Dylan, Rune, and Zephyr, Vex Fidel, Elias Tavinis, Tavistinian, Swamping Lover, Shira Veed, Garden, Not Daily, and a special thanks to my staff, Mother, Squeakers, Boggle, and Sparrow. Make sure you support me on Patreon if you can, or on Ko-Fi for as little as $1 a month to get access to my Discord, or you can support me in this free way by subscribing and liking the video. Bye bye. I'll see you guys all next time.